soccer coach. He coached at like universities. He's like huge into his kids are into soccer big time. Like I should basically know or be playing soccer or something like that, but I don't fucking know shit.
Play soccer right now.
Yeah, exactly. He's like trying to get my mom to play it right now, like at her age, like at 50 something. Yeah. She's like, no, ain't gonna happen. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna. It's like you're gonna like try to like, oh, let's go try to push things too far. I'm gonna break my leg, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I played in elementary school, but that's the extent.
Yeah, I never really played it. I played it for kicks.
Because it's soccer and you kick it.
Horrible. Okay. Actually, no, this is open. I was gonna say I'll move us to streaming, but no, we're okay being here. Nobody's really gonna show up, and if they do, it's okay. And if they're not dealing with it right, then they will not be in here soon. So
sounds about right.
Yeah, we know how to handle that. Yeah, we're live now. So let me tweet out this. I don't really have a title yet. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just
let's go back to the old days where just in the middle we're like, that's it, that's the one.
Well, I in honor of our current guest, episode 63, B3 Gaming BC. Oh god, okay. What did Phil say? Phil say, "Fuck it, we're doing it live." That's starting to get into my head. That is starting to get into my head, and I don't even know that meme very well. I think I saw it once. But B3 Gaming Cast, episode 63. This is your host, as always, Janzer. But the title that I picked just temporarily is, but why male models? Because we have special guests to emphasize. And I used a clip from Zoolander as his notification whenever he like shows up to my stream and like says something. And so he started saying that, but why male models afterwards? So I just kind of stuck in my head. So, yeah.
Actually, I always intend to say something else, but I always forget that pops up, and then I panic, and then that's the first thing that comes to my mind every time. No,
okay. So I know about shit posting, but I guess panic posting is a thing too. That's awesome. Yeah.
You gotta stay witty, you know.
Yeah. It's like a squid shooting ink. Oh god.
So if you are watching, if you're watching Janzer stream and you happen to be at a disco, and then that alert comes up, and then you panic, are you then a band?
I knew you were going. That's Graviton Dryad.
Hey, everybody.
I don't know.
You can always count on me for nonsense and gibberish.
Such a roundabout way to the joke.
How the hell else am I supposed to connect it with everybody else? No one else is in my brain. Yeah. But that's what my brain went to. And I was like, I got to make a way to explain this to other people.
It's accurate.
That's how my brain works. Makes connections. I'm going to make a connection, and then I'm going to like have to try to explain that connection so people are not like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
But they still might do that. Which is fun.
Yeah. See, what you're doing right now, I do that to ladies, and that's when they're like, okay, yeah, no. They get hooked by the look, and then they're like, oh, wait, oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, no. This guy's a super nerd. Yeah, no. I love it, though. All right.
Super nerd.
Looks don't matter. Okay, anyways, yeah. Thanks for joining us. Phil, by the way, Phil Amon Grundy, unfortunately got killed by the Kraken or something like that. He's off working a job he's a photographer. He does photography work. So he's out at a thing, doing a thing. He's been doing that for a couple of days, and I'd like to just say that he got killed by a Kraken.
And he's a professional, so he won't be taking any like really pervy shots for me and sending them to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, he said he might show up towards the end of the podcast if he has time to troll us in chat.
So there
you go.
Nice.
There you go.
If you hadn't said anything, I would have just said like, "Get well soon, Phil."
Yeah. Rip in pieces at the bottom of the ocean.
So if you ever need to get your fill, you should have been here for the live cast if he shows up.
I just want to give that some space.
It was good. That's what I expected you were doing.
Oh, it's so good. All right. Yeah, I like I was saying before the podcast, I kind of my schedule's kind of all jacked up. It's like if I cast long one night, like if I do a stream long one night, it just throws me off for days. Like
Yeah.
my schedule is all lopsided as shit. So I overly stayed up longer today in order to rebalance that again. Probably not gonna work, but I'll give it a shot. Thankfully, I do like my own freelance stuff, so I don't have to like worry about a boss, yelling at me. Why aren't you here at like 8 in the morning? Oh, because I play video games. That's a good excuse, right? Video games, yeah. That does remind me of some weird article that I saw. I didn't even put it down as a topic, but might as well bring it up now. But I've seen this before too, where it's saying that we're losing a lot of our workforce in the United States. A lot of young men are not working and playing video games instead. It's not the first time I've seen that article. I've actually seen it a few times in the past year. I don't really know what to think about that, other than I really do feel like that's just a, hey, I want to get a reader to read this. It seems really overblown. I don't see that in real life being a thing. Like I don't see people around me. I'm the only one I know, for example, that does what I do. Runs a podcast, does live streaming. So I don't know what you guys think about that. Do you think that holds any water? That young guys between the age of 20 and 30 are no longer working, but instead playing video games?
I think that's probably true if you look at the statistics of those entering college and don't need a job. Because there are some people who have to work when they're at like their undergrad years.
Yeah.
But there are other people who don't.
Yeah,
and I think that number is hugely inflated, probably because of that context. I know that there's a lot more of, I think a long time ago the term used was like prolonged adolescence, where people would, instead of entering the workforce and moving on their own like 18 or whatever, they're still going through college, they're living at home, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But I don't think... I think when those things fall in line within those statistics, I think it's more coincidence than a correlation, is my opinion.
Definitely the prolonged or return to home for like the millennial generation or whatever, it is a thing. But in all reality, there are a lot of cultures where that never was not a thing. That's horrible fucking English. That's a norm. Okay.
Correct.
I live in Texas, so I see a lot of Hispanic families, a lot of Mexican, Hispanic families, and they tend to be very family focused the same way as Irish are, the same way as like Italians are. In fact, in Italy, it's very common for the young guys to like live with parents and spend most of their money on like really nice suits. I'm not even fucking kidding. This is a real thing. So, that's just their values are a little bit just shifted. But I also think of like, and here's me going off on my tangents like usual. Whenever I think of Europe, I'm like, but those countries have been around for fucking eon, for so long. And the United States has really only been around for a couple hundred years, that they have, it's kind of like, we're bored. What can we do? Like they've gone past a lot of the basic things that we were going through, because the United States is still kind of a young country. That we look at some of the practices that maybe other countries that have been around for quite much longer. We're like, why do they value that over this? Like we're very capitalistic, work hungry type of culture. Everything's about work. It's 80-hour work week, that kind of bullshit, which is garbage. But I think we're getting into that age now where we have so much freedom. I mean, I also think that's where that like whole like option of like gender fluidity, we joked about object fluidity last time. I think I even named the podcast something about like we're object fluid now. But when you start having like the idea that you can have so many more options, that means you have an excess in my mind. Like, I learned that growing up because I was poor as fuck. And so when I started seeing options, it was like, it's because I'm stepping up in the world. I'm starting to actually see that there's oh, you don't have to own a gun. Well, you're in Texas, so never mind. But you don't have to be part of a gang and own a gun, that kind of stuff. But yeah. I don't. So the whole living at home thing, I don't. Especially with college tuition on that, I kind of see that as or returning to home. I kept hearing that when I was working or whatever, and so I see that as kind of a normal thing, and even a throwback to traditional family type of units as they used to be. But, I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
Single home, yeah.
Yeah, thoughts, because I'll just ramble. You guys know.
No, I agree with you. I think a lot of reason why it's become a lot more apparent about that kind of stuff is because of like the internet and social media. A lot of that information is out there now, so people talk about it more. For example, like let's talk about like autism or something like that. I feel like when we're growing up, I'm sure like a lot of kids probably were like on the spectrum or had some sort of autism, but like there wasn't resources and things like that. But nowadays it's like basically everybody is on the spectrum or has autism, because it's like all that information, all of that research is all there. So it's kind of to apply that to less people are working and playing games. I feel like you said, that's always been the norm, but people talk about it more because now it's easy to talk to people or like whole groups of people, or to have what would you call it, like a centralized group of, like you can talk about specific topics like on subreddits and.
Well, definitely part of these articles that I read, when they talk about, they push it to the extreme where they're like, young men are not working at all. They're deciding to not work. And then I read the stats around it, and it's like, no. Well, you got to take into account what else happened. Like for example, like miners lost a lot of jobs this past year or something like that. Like I read about that too. So that's a section of like of people that, how many are in that age bracket from 20 to 40 or whatever it was. I forgot. I think they said specifically 20 to 30 something or whatever. But basically, you have to take more into account, and that whole thing about like, anybody can read stats however they want. They can skew it however they want. And where did that cross section come from? How do they know how many hours, people are actually playing? They might be buying the data from like gaming companies, number one. You know how you can take surveys from gaming companies. They're like, how many hours a week do you think you play on devices? Because I take those surveys every once in a while, and I'm like, they probably sell that data, to their. Well, it's probably part of that survey to where the publisher owns that data, and the publisher can sell it off however they feel as well. So advertising is such a huge goddamn thing. So
it's like a combination of everything. It's probably a domino effect. People have more access to the internet. People are on the internet more nowadays. So, like you said, a lot more people probably do those type of surveys. So there's more information out there, maybe.
I kind of think that gaming replacing other things that people might have been doing, probably better in a lot of ways. I look at it as like, is that really that horrible? If young guys decide, like, part of some of these articles were like, there was very little defense for why that could be. I'm like, well, maybe there's an awakening to the idea of what luxuries we have when it comes to employment as well. Like streaming, for example, or doing, pre-recorded videos and putting those on YouTube, edited and all that kind of stuff, getting into what people are interested in based on, I hate using this word, but the zeitgeist of what's going on. And people that are coming up in the world, so to speak, they're really not that stupid for like wanting to like jump onto something that's actually being actively used, like YouTube, for example. Why is it dumb for like a young, if I was that age when that started, like 18 or whatever, I absolutely would have gotten into it without a question. I hesitated to do it in my like later on, like I think I started about 5-6 years ago, something like that. I hesitated to do it then because I was just like, I'm pretty old already. This is not where old people belong. Like, I'm just gonna, it's gonna, why are you doing this? You should be a adult, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think we just give ourselves, I mean, even myself, we give ourselves excuses on not,
True.
To take that first step. Because, I mean, I completely agree with you. Like, I wish I could have started earlier because I'm sure, things would be a lot better. And if you really think about it, a lot of the people that are, quote, popular now is because they started earlier, basically.
That's true. I think so too. That has something to do with it. Getting in early is definitely has something to do with it for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really see gaming as some horror. Well, we do joke about the whole restart thing. Like, send me to restart.camp, where you go. They basically pull you away from all your electronic devices. I'm not saying that can't be a problem for people at all. Clearly, people have addictions. I know I have my tendencies to certain things or whatever it is, but that doesn't mean that it goes back to
everything in moderation.
I like to point it back to alcohol, because alcohol is a legal drug that gets abused all the fucking time. But but it's
in some
legal,
cases, it's weird if you're heavily. Not abusing it.
Yeah, if you're not doing it, it's like, oh, you're not this. Why aren't you like
why
you're
aren't
the
you
outsider.
Shoving this poison in your body till you vomit?
Yeah, you're the outsider for not being that way, which is kind of odd.
I think I'm actually gone to a point where I'm like, I feel so old now that if I don't drink, there's something wrong with me. Like, I want to keep doing it so I don't feel older. You know what I mean? Like, I need to drink. I need to play games. If I don't play games, like, I'm going to die soon or something. So I have to keep playing games.
Well, video games, I mean, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to look at what video games can do for your brain as far as activity is concerned in relation to something else, such as just sitting there and watching, like, TV or Netflix. We've talked about this way in the past too. There's the passive effect versus the active. For example, I've talked about this a long time ago, maybe on YouTube videos or something like that. Alzheimer's. They found that, like, people that have that combat that better, or maybe have that like the early onset of it, they'll get them to do like 3D spatial type of little games or tests or stuff like that. They find that helps to keep that off, or and I don't know what all is involved with these tests and how they came up with everything. I just remember reading articles where they're like, basically, if you have better spatial awareness, like if you memorize maps in your head of, like, your city, for example, maybe not necessarily the names of the streets, but you have the 3D map in your head of, like, oh yeah, you turn here, you turn there, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's better for you. Same thing with, like, math, for example. I used to always, fucking nerd. Like, I prided myself on never using a calculator, ever. Like, I until I had to absolutely, for whatever reason. And some years back, I just started using it. Like, I don't know. I think when I started the job that I was at, and I recognize now that was just me being lazy in a way, And I started redoing like 3-4 digit multiplication type stuff, just because I was like, no, you could do this. Stop being lazy. Leave the calculator alone, or just simple things, like that. It's one of those things where it forces your brain to kind of just work through that stuff. That's really not that hard, but it's kind of like, just do a few bicep curls and shut up. Just I don't know, but that's probably part of my old, catching up to me, where I'm like, and I say old because I've seen games, since the beginning. So yeah, I consider that old. All right, it's old. Yeah,
so old.
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah,
badge of pride.
Did I run that one into the ground? I hope so.
Yeah, I don't even remember how we got there.
Young men working less.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's so much more I can talk about that, and I don't want to.
I mean, to go back to that, I mean, I'm sure culturally, there's been some changes that kind of not exponentially, but increases that number. But overall, it's probably been the same. Just back in the day, in the 90s, they don't put stuff like that in the newspaper, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, yeah, I think games, the adoption of games into like a standard everyday kind of thing definitely rose up in the 80s and 90s for sure.
Mhm.
You know, 70s not so much, I don't think.
Mhm.
But definitely 80, like, because you had consoles. That was the big thing.
Yep.
You started, that's, you know, Nintendo. And then you
And
had
then
PCs.
and then even with the Wii, when the Wii first dropped, it like appealed and bridged the gap for so many people who would not consider themselves gamers at all.
Gotcha.
And so I think that, you know, gaming as a whole continues to grow, even though it's still very much so a like minority hobby. Like it's not as big as watching movies or
Right.
whatever, maybe even reading, probably.
Yeah.
Things like that. But yeah, and so I think it's still in this. Some people still perceive gaming the way gaming has always been, like that's a weird thing that nerds do.
Yeah.
And some people are into gaming, so it's kind of this area where, hey, a lot of people are into gaming, a lot of people still think it's kind of weird. So this is like it's like an in-between, like a purgatory topic. Like it almost fits perfectly, I think.
You know what kind of reminds me of? I don't know if it's related to what we're talking about, but it's kind of what Janzer was saying, where, you know, it's like out there. So it's kind of like in real life, like IRL, you don't really know a lot of, I mean, personally, I don't really know a lot of females that play games.
Right.
And then you go on Twitch where people are, you know, it's a gaming place. People play games on Twitch. You
Right.
come on here and there's like so many, like, you know, females playing. I mean, whether it's to, you know, boob cam or you know, make money or whatever. I mean, I've never seen, like, in my whole lifetime, like this many females playing. I didn't know this many females played video games, and
It's true.
It kind of goes back to the whole like, oh yeah, only nerds play video games. Dude, go to the IRL section. It's like that whole page is like, I don't know if you call them girl gamers, but you know, it's like, wow,
Female
kind of
streamers.
blows. Yeah, when you see Twitch, it kind of blows your mind that this, like, the ratio is a lot closer than you thought it was before you knew about Twitch.
Yeah.
And like even people that I work with, almost never has anybody ever talked about, hey, I'm going to start talking about gaming. It's almost like something that people just keep to themselves, and then if it happens to pop up, they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like I know lots of people that I work with that do game, but a lot of them are more, it's like way low on their hobby list. It's on their hobby list, but it's way low. Like they're like, yeah, I bought whatever 2 generations ago Nintendo because I grew up playing Donkey Kong and Super Mario, and I wanted to relive that. So I bought this new thing so I could play those games from when I was a kid. And they play like maybe once every like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that are in that area. But every once in a while, there's somebody who's really into gaming. But yeah, I think it's still pretty minority, and so it's so I think the rising number, like, oh my god, so many people are into gaming now. They all are not working. Look at what it's doing to our society. Those nerds.
Like I said,
so,
I mean, here's a challenge for anybody listening, even for us, if you want. Just talk to 10 people that you know aren't immediately gamers. Just 10 people. Hell, at the store. Hey, what do you think about video games? Or something like that. But that might be weird approaching a person at the grocery store. But apparently, I'm so approachable at grocery stores that people think I fucking work there. But anyways.
Well, stop wearing the red shirt to Target.
Oh my god, I was so not wearing the red shirt. I so not wearing the red shirt. All right.
Red to Target.
No, I'm just gonna be like my brother-in-law.
I was wearing a polo shirt that didn't even match
all the time, and I'm gonna do that from now on. I have enough suits. I used to wear them when I would go fly around for the company I used to work for. I just I love suits. I actually would love to always wear suits, but there is also maintenance too. No, they're actually not that bad, and like people think, when it's hot out. You got to pick a good material, people. Come on, learn your suits. Grow up, be an adult. So you pick a good material, and you'll find that, especially in Texas where it gets, like, the sun's out all the time, that protection from the sun, it not directly baking your skin, because that's what it does. It's radiation baking your fucking skin. It helps big time. You know, don't wear the jacket when you walk outside, maybe, but the shirt, the long sleeve shirt, I always used to wear it when it's super hot. Why am I talking about this? Stop me! All right, let's.
Dude, I don't know like how people do that because I used to be in contracting, so we had a lot of workers, and then we worked in hot places, and I'm talking about like 100-degree weather, like Arizona weather, and the people that I know, like they would wrap t-shirts around their head and cover their entire body with clothes, so you know their skin's not exposed. And I can understand, you know, it's because of whatever, skin cancer or sunburn, but like, dude, I would like die.
Well, a breathable material, and you got to think about it like exactly what, there's the basic science behind it. Sun directly baking your skin is a lot worse than a breathable material that is blocking the sunlight from directly baking your skin. So it may seem like it's trapping in heat, but it's not. The material, if it's breathable, it's actually letting air through, which is great. And your skin's not directly getting, you know, hit by, especially if you wear a white shirt, that directly, you know, reflects light. So that's perfectly great. I live in Texas, man. I'm telling you, it's so much better wearing a long sleeve shirt.
Can we have like an IRL shit you didn't know, and maybe you still don't need to know, but maybe it's cool to know? Janzer stream.
Oh God. Oh yeah. I don't know. We'll think about something like that. But anyway, let's move on to.
I used to be in contracting in Arizona. Well, I worked in Arizona.
Yeah.
But anyways. Yeah, I'm sure that stuff will pop up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's fucking hot as hell in Arizona as well.
Yeah.
I think probably it's just way more humid in Texas, but at least where I live. All right.
Yes. I love how I commented like just on the skin portion of what you were saying, and then we talked about like skin cancer and stuff.
Well, it's true. It's true, man. Hey, that's
and
right.
Science.
You're in a desert. You cover the fuck up. People think it's the opposite, but it's the other way around.
So video games.
Yeah. Destiny 2 early release. I mean, God. Destiny 2 early, stick to the script. Destiny 2 early access, July 18 for PS4 and 19 for Xbox One. So the 18th for PS4 gets it exclusively, like they did last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that the Xbox One, getting it like a day later, their early access, they're gonna probably also get their DLC and all that a lot later too, right? In fact, I think up to a year is what I was.
Yeah,
which was
the
normal.
same installment. The way it worked for Destiny 1 was 1 year.
It just still blows my mind, and I know it shouldn't. That isn't like Bungie. I consider Bungie to be Microsoft, and yet it's on the PS.
Yeah,
I just don't. How did that come about?
Think about it. The way you have to think about it is more about Halo. So Bungie and Halo is a thing.
Yeah.
Bungie and Microsoft are a thing, but it was because of Halo. Bungie left Halo.
Yeah.
Bungie can then also leave Microsoft. So you have to think more of like Halo being the glue as opposed to Bungie. But yes, it is weird.
So weird. It's just so weird. PC, of course, in August. They don't have a specific date for the early access. Now I'm talking about the early access, like a trial run, you know. So we're talking about like, you know, the beta or whatever. But I believe it's open beta, and all the early access is early access to the open beta. So when the open beta is, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that in the article, but I know it's out there. That date's probably out there. But yeah.
I forget what happened the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm imagining it's probably pretty similar to those times, if not like within a week of those times is probably my guess for the open one. But I don't actually know.
This is where I put that statement in. Look, we're not a gaming news network, okay? And I only say that when I don't have the information to something or I'm wrong about something. But everything up until that point, I'm like, look, this is the correct information, okay? But and then launch September 6th for consoles, October 24th for PC. But I really don't think it's going to be October 24th. I really can see that being pushed back because it's a PC game. And most PC things get, you know, bumped back and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm not, you know, just temper your expectations, people. That's all I'm saying, you know. Just temper your expectations. In fact, I saw a video where this guy was like kind of laying out the development of Destiny 1 and all the issues it had. And, he talked about how one of the big problems with Destiny 1 apparently was they had the same issue that Mass Effect Andromeda had, in a way where they presented a story that the top fucking brass or whatever the hell they call, I don't know, whatever, upper management, they didn't like that, but they had worked so long on that, like, it was apparently like a 2-hour, story or whatever, animated story or whatever of what's going to happen. So they had to scrap all that and then just kind of come up with something else based on whatever the upper management wanted. So if it felt like it wasn't great, it's because it sounds like it wasn't great either. That's kind of what Mass Effect Andromeda went through as well. And the only thing that I disagreed with this guy, which I can't remember whoever it was I watched, he said something like, well, Destiny 2's got the writer from Mass Effect Andromeda, and we all know how that went. No, you don't. And that's a dumb statement, because if you actually looked in and researched it, you'll find that the guy that he had originally worked on that, he left early. He had nothing to do with what ended up. Exactly. And I forgot his name.
And his attempt to clutch it.
Yeah, he's got a very particular name, and I can't quite remember it.
If I heard it, I'd know it, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
If I had notes on the
we definitely covered it when we went through all that stuff.
Could find them in the notes, which is what I'm doing right now.
And everybody even can probably have one bad thing in their repertoire. So even if this guy didn't have the context of coming in and saving the day, which apparently wasn't enough, so therefore it's bad and he's bad and should feel bad or whatever the fuck. I think people are allowed to have that, like, one thing that wasn't all that great, but maybe all their other shit is good and they're still good at what they do.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The big problem that I have is that guy was trying to tie the kind of like problems that MEA had with their story and their development
that
guy who left before they finished, right? Like his original stuff wasn't all used, so it's kind of hard to like say, and I get that, having worked on a lot of digital projects. I've had stuff taken from me, not like in a, hey, keep me there, but like in a, I'm working on it initially, and maybe I was needed to work on another project because whatever,
Right.
But you always look at, I don't know about you. For me, I'm a very, I guess, kind of like, I retain that art side of myself where when I make something, it's mine and I'm crafting it. I don't even look at digital, like web projects as digital, like websites or whatever. They're crafts. It's craftsmanship. All of it is craftsmanship or craftsmanship, whichever, But there's everything that you're putting into it. It's your integrity. It's your name. I come from that old school world of that kind of stuff where anything I've touched is like, okay, my name's on that now, so I better damn well do a good job. Like granted, Jim asked me, he was like, hey, could you do like a, like a floating GIF of this, like, and yes, I say GIF instead of GIF. I'm sorry, but it's the correct way to say it. Of this ghost going across the screen for like my sub thing. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I worked on it. And then I sent him like all these parameters. Okay, this is just the test. So you tell me size of the ghost, like direction of the ghost, up, down, left, right, if you want to do blah, blah, blah. Tell me about this. Tell me about speed. Tell me about smoothing, blah, blah, blah. I just gave him all these parameters to like, you tell me what you want changed. I will absolutely change it. Don't feel like you should not ask for changes, because the thing is, I would rather have something that you actually like than something that you half like and then just stop asking me for changes because you're afraid to like, get me pissed off or something like that. No.
Yeah.
I want something that you love. And I'm gonna work, that kind of thing. So, anyways, it's games are hard to make. Games are like, I put that thing out on Twitter about how what's that?
The art character creation thing.
Yeah,
2B or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. How that guy was like, I made the model in like 1 to 2 weeks. So it was like exactly. One character model took him that long for the rough. It's like, yeah, it's shit takes time, man. It takes time. So, yeah.
Feels time, man.
I expect it to be delayed. That all of that roundabout shit to say, Destiny 2, it's gonna be delayed. And is it gonna be? I don't know. According to that guy, he took a bunch of interviews and strung up together a bunch of sound bites of like the developers talking about how they had problems with the first one, so and how they didn't really have a good direction on part 2. So he's thinking it's gonna come out the same way. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Mac Walters? Not long, blah, blah, blah. BioWare brought in long-time Mass Effect writer Mac Walters. Casey Hudson. That could be the guy left BioWare.
Casey Hudson was a Mass Effect connected person for a long time, but he was working on Project Dylan. So he wasn't involved in Andromeda, I believe.
Okay, so it might have been Mac. Well, either way, there's that one article out there, the troubled development of Mass Effect Andromeda over 5 years, something like that. Definitely go read that if y'all have not. Or unless you can't read, then I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah, talking about bad development or delayed development or whatever. I saw this in a tweet, but I saw the article as well. How PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is being delayed until the end of the year, where it was initially supposed to have like a 3-month or something like that. Wasn't it like a 3-month like run in development for beta and then be released? Apparently whoever that guy, I don't know. Phil's like in love with the developer guy.
I got his name somewhere in here.
Duderman.
It's Brendan something.
PlayerUnknown. PlayerUnknown himself. He was just saying like he'd rather give the developers time to actually work on stuff rather than compress that. I appreciate that, being a developer and being in heavy stressed environments. But at the same time, to the end of the year, it just seems like a lot more time versus the 3 months that they originally had thought about. It's like, well, I mean, okay, but wow. I don't know. I'm also not a huge fan of the game. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I think, I do think that it could look a lot better than it does. That kind of gets to me because I'm like, look, you guys are not spending any time on AI. So that whole development.
Which I should also add that, in my opinion, it is the best looking of the genre, which is kind of, a little sad.
It's pretty good. I've seen some that have what I think to be better player character models. I would have to get the names of them. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But, I don't think the animations are great on it. I don't think that the character models are great. I think the environment looks pretty okay. It looks pretty good, But given that it's sold so much and they're not, like, to me, AI is a big thing because I no longer have the ability to play player versus player with any kind of like success. My reaction speed is just not there and at all. So I need bots in my life. And I'm pretty sure bots can be always coded to destroy humans because that's what their job is going to be eventually.
Well, Janzer, I think maybe it's irrelevant because maybe they're trying to target the market of people who don't have a job and are playing video games that are younger than you. Even though they don't have money to buy the game, maybe they're just marketing them because they don't have jobs.
Well, yeah. Silly sarcasm aside, which is great, and I love that it's a callback. I think there's two reasons, right? Number one, it does cut down on development big time because if you don't have like players like scripting models for AI, which they can buy, I know they could, or they could hire somebody to come into that. Then it cuts down on the cost and time, so that's a big one. So to me, I'm like, great, pump that development into the damn rest of the game. Meaning your animations look like garbage to me. I'm sorry, they do. But I don't know. I'm a huge proponent for AI in games because, Gamertron used to be on the P3 GamingCast, and he said it even on his YouTube videos, and I totally agree with him in this. When games are no longer available to play online for whatever reason, what do you do then? You do nothing.
Yep.
You just give them up, right? Because that's all you have to do.
Yep, it's done. Game over.
Whereas right now, people are really into like playing retro games and stuff like that. You wouldn't be able to do that with these games.
Yep.
It'd be screwed unless they did something like they used to do way back in the day, which is make it available to where you could run your own servers. Quake was like that, Doom was like that, all that. But that's become so much less and less of a thing that people were able to do with games. I know people did it with like World of Warcraft, for example, because I remember playing on a private server. But it doesn't seem like it's a very, if you wanted to run a Half-Life server, like Half-Life Deathmatch, you could. If you wanted to run, you could. You could do all the mods that you wanted for Counter-Strike on your own server, whatever. It was fine because Valve was like, here's a server that you can run. Here's the scripting for the server. Go do it. I don't know. It seems like for a small, like what's supposed to be an indie game with a massive amount of sale, like it was one of the few, of the titles that's like super hot right now. It's super hot, clearly. It was not on sale because it doesn't need to be, Steam Summer Sale.
It's always in like the top 2 or something like that.
Yeah, and on Steam Summer Sale, it wasn't on sale because they knew. They were like, we don't need to be.
I think it was top 1. It wasn't on sale, and it was like it was the top game like the entire sale. Exactly.
So I'm like, so put the money into the production. I'm sorry. I know I'm being hard on them, but guess what? When you're that successful, and it's of a genre that I don't care as much about, I'm gonna be hard on them.
And here's the thing that I think is interesting because Phil really went the extra effort to highlight this guy's Brendan Green's PlayerUnknown's like credentials and like his passion for whatever.
I really do.
I remember one of the things that Phil had highlighted was that he wanted this game to get pushed through to being fully released.
Exactly.
And so because of that, unless he was full of shit, which is always possible with somebody, I think I have to give him that benefit of a doubt and assume that he is going to do everything as part of it. Now, if this thing ends up getting pushed back again, then it's like, I don't know. But right now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to let this guy do his thing, do it right. We're in a part of the world where in gaming where gamers are never happy. If you don't release it on time, they're pissed because they don't get to play the game. But if you don't push it back to fix everything, then they're pissed because you released it broken. So it's like, you can't win.
Well,
so
look at this. For example, they added like that zombies mode or whatever. Did they really? Was that the point of the game? No, it's a battle royale. And by the way, I've heard on other podcasts and stuff, and I've read around. Look, people, it is not about this Katniss movie or books. Battle Royale was a fucking movie. Go watch it.
Japanese.
That's where the genre came from, not from whatever the hell girl that wants to love all the guys and she doesn't want to at the same time.
God, what is that
and apparently
called?
she's Amazing Sparrow Girl.
Hunger Games.
Yes, I'm just being an ass on purpose.
I was like, what the fuck is that called? I know what this is called.
I actually did watch the first movie, though. I thought it was pretty all right. I wouldn't mind watching the next ones. But, oh, God. Yeah, who, by the way, she decided she was going to play Mystique again after all. I think it's Mystique, right? Yeah.
So, I kind of have, like, I don't know too much about Battlegrounds in general, but I kind of have some experience in the industry. So, I don't know if this is related to the game in any way, but I know that Bluehole is the developer, and they're actually a pretty big Korean dev company. So I'm actually surprised. Yeah, so I'm actually surprised that, you're like pointing out the animations and the look.
Yeah.
I mean, Bluehole. I think their most well known is probably Terra.
Wait,
Terra
so
Online.
Can you? Okay, so that's news to me. I thought that this was like just the guy was working on it himself. I guess he sold rights to it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't really know too much about Battlegrounds, but my assumption is that because I know that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was like a mod or something. It used to be. It was an indie game, like you said, and I think probably what happened was probably Bluehole or some Korean dev like approached him, or he approached these companies, and he they're starting to work together now, and this dev company is working alongside him, and that's probably why when you're talking about delays and things, that's probably where that all stems from is because I've worked for Korean gaming companies before, and I know how like structure and stuff like that works, and I'm sure it's different and whatever, but there was probably a lot of issues there with whether it's communication or the fact that whoever the guy player unknown is, maybe he's unhappy with something. I mean, this is culturally it's different too. So I mean, it could be Bluehole's American US studio or whatever. I mean, I don't know too much, but I know that Bluehole is a pretty well-known Korean gaming company. So I was surprised when I found out that they were actually I guess associated with this game.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'd have to look up to see when all this was. I see it now, like on the wiki. And here's another thing that you mentioned, like complications with the whole thing during E3 saying, "Hey, we're going to be on consoles," or whatever. I don't know how much earlier than the E3 release that was a known thing, but that definitely would complicate things as far as like slowing down development, for sure. Because consoles are really well known to be, you got to go through their certification process. And that's not like I'm just going to get it done right now.
Weeks. And then if there's complications, even longer.
Yep. Yeah, I can't quite see when whatever got picked up or whatever. I
don't know. I just saw Bluehole and I was like, I know that company. I've heard of that company before. And then, I mean, they did Terra. I know NMAS is the US publisher for Terra, but Bluehole is technically like the overseas developer for that game. NMAS is just a publisher. They only do translation and whatever. So it's probably that type of relationship with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where it's the development side is probably done by Bluehole, or they're publishing the game for PlayerUnknown, whoever that. I mean,
so here's what it is. Apparently, there's a dude, Chang'an Kim, that's working or was, I'm not sure still, in South Korean studio Geno Games. And apparently he contacted that guy Green, who's the developer, after Green had left Sony Online, and offered him the opportunity to work on the concept. So they flew him to Bluehole's headquarters in Korea to work over that. So he didn't do this on his own at all. Okay, see, my story was coming from, talking to us gamers, like B3. I didn't actually look up the stuff because if I don't bring like an article to the podcast, I don't research it. I just expect whatever, and that's why I also disclaim everything that we're not a news network.
I just made an assumption based on I feel like I've seen Battlegrounds, like it was a mod for maybe Arma, and then I know Bluehole is a Korean developer, so I just took two together and assumed that they somehow made some sort of deal, and they're working on it together.
Yeah, I think somewhere between the origin story of that mod and this game, he transitioned from just him to bigger than him.
Well, here's the thing, too. In other podcasts I've listened to, they only talk about the dude. And they don't even mention the name Green. Like, they're just like, oh, the guy player unknown himself. I'm like, the developer's name. Apparently his name's Brendan Green. So, and these are bigger podcasts that I'm listening to. So, it's not necessarily, I guess people were just kind of like glossing over the whole fact that he's working for a fucking studio. Apparently they started with 35 developers. Bluehole started with a team of about 35 developers supporting that work, not 35 developers in total in the company, just for that work. But then they increased it to 70 and expected to go up to 90. And then a new studio in Madison, Wisconsin. It's pretty interesting. Go check out the wiki. I'm not going to read it all live. We're doing it live. No, we're not. So, yeah, exactly. Count and chat there saying he develops the game with their... Absolutely. It's exactly the way it looks. So they've got resources. They've got experience. And then along with that comes the complications of working for a big monstrous company, which I'm very familiar with as well. And like you said, emphasize communication, goal changing. You also have ego issues, of course, or like somebody stepping into a role, wanting to make their mark and changing, things that happen with Mass Effect Andromeda, apparently. So, yeah. That sounds like it could be a mess. But so we'll see what happens.
Yep.
we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll just do the product. But when they do stuff like, hey, we're adding zombies mode, but the zombies mode is really controlled by other players, which is actually really interesting, except for one qualm I have. Don't let your zombies jump.
Yeah.
And they
Agreed.
let them jump. It says we're offline. Are we offline? I see we're still streaming. It's probably just Twitch.
Yeah, it's probably just broke.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, I watched the thing about that, of a game of them playing zombies mode. Yeah, we're live. I just pulled up the bitrate and all that. And yeah, the people were, of course, just running, super fast zombies. Number one, which is fine. We'll get into that. But then they're jumping too. I'm like, come on. Then you just got like jumping idiots zigzagging around, and this is not fun for me. I've already got shit like aim as it is, and if it's only gonna be like 4 of you or whatever against like an entire 28 or whatever. Wait, well, how many are there? It's like 50 or 60 that entered the map of people total, something like that. It's a big number.
Matches can vary. I've seen as low
people.
as like 70 to as high as 150. So.
Oh my god. So 50 was a low match. Wow.
Yeah, so it could be, yeah. Like, and that's talking about the versus mode. I haven't seen any of the zombie specific mode, but I imagine that the numbers are probably about the same. So yeah.
Interesting. It was pretty neat, but then I saw everybody just kind of like jumping around and
here's the thing that's tricky about that. So here's the thing, and I agree, jumping zombies seems dumb, and it also makes it very difficult. But when you have players that can jump, couldn't you just stand on top of a big enough vehicle that they can never get to you if they can't jump? So like maybe remove jump but give climbing. Right. Yeah, I mean it seems like the solution, but yeah, I mean that's extra work.
That's fair.
It's probably some bootleg zombie coding where it's like the sprite is a zombie, but it's actually just a regular person that's unarmed. That's punching, but
that's how I imagine it. Yeah.
Yep, it's like a naked person with the zombie skin on, and apparently even those are not like the final version, of course, of whatever they're supposed to look like. I'm pretty sure they're like 90% there or 95 even,
Mm-hmm.
But you always want to say that, and that's totally fine. I get that.
All I know is this game has seized this genre.
Yeah.
And like you were saying earlier, it's so basic, it's just a battle arena. It's like over and over. All you do is throw it into this island and everyone just kills each other until you get a chicken dinner. But they don't mess this up. I mean,
right.
You're making so much money off of this like basic concept that
it's one game mode
trend right now. Yeah, it's a huge trend. I mean, it overtook. I mean, Daisy was like the first one, right? It was Daisy, and then like H1Z1. Everyone's like, "Oh, Daisy sucks." Like,
well, even before H1Z1, I think there were concurrently running a few other ones that were they made an impact, but not big enough. Like even H1Z1 got overrun by something else. There was not Rust.
There was another one by like Russian developers or something.
Yeah, it wasn't Rust, but it was some other one. There's been a couple ones that have spiked for like a week or 5 or something like that, and then they kind of go away. And I don't even remember because I don't care about the genre. But you're absolutely right. Emphasize. How can they mess it up? They can clearly, but they shouldn't. And that's why I was upset about. Well, not upset, but that's why when I look at the zombies thing, I'm like, okay, don't do that. You're splitting what little resources you say. And reading that wiki, by the way, it said, oh, a lot of these developers are doing it on their own time. Then don't abuse that. Don't split up. Maybe they want to work on that zombie stuff, but that's not what you need. You need to focus. There needs to be a director. They need to put in, timelines, all that kind of great stuff, and actually stick to it. That'd be great. And yeah, maybe you want all these different options or whatever. Don't. Just do the release and stop playing with different options, Do it the right way. But I know it's hard to actually, especially if people are excited when they're developing. Oh, I really want to do this. Yeah. I know Overwatch did a pretty good job with that so far. They one game mode. That's what you're getting. And, and it worked out. And they're just adding on to it, Out of all the complaints that people might have had for like, oh, lack of story mode, whatever, they're just like, whatever, we know what we're doing. And sure enough, they're doing exactly what works for them. And the only problem I have is Doomfist is not Terry Crews. But otherwise...
Doomfist, huh?
Yeah.
But,
Did you guys
those
look
games
into
are
that?
all like balancing. It's all balancing. It's like you balance something for 1 month and make another class OP as hell, and then people bitch like crazy, and then 2 months down the road you rebalance it, and then you make like 2 other classes OP, and you nerf the one that was OP before, and that's basically how it runs.
And what's good about that is it keeps people interested.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, as much as people might complain about that kind of stuff, they're not stopping playing. And there's so many games that are like that. MOBAs are just like that. Like I play Paragon, and that's how it is. You know, people might say, "Oh, I don't want it," but man, they get on there when that new, you know, whatever class is on there, and they love talking about like whatever. Oh, this is blah blah blah. You know, building the meta again. You know, it's great. Plus, you're keeping YouTubers in work because they have to rebuild their decks and all.
It's funny because it's true.
What were you saying, Dan? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you said Doomfist, and I don't know.
I was transitioning, that's why.
Okay, good. So you're transitioning to the Overwatch character?
Yeah, because he released this past week or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I thought of you immediately because he punches stuff.
Yeah, I think most people seem to be okay, like on social media, with the fact that he's not Terry Crews. There's a few like, not Terry Crews, that sucks. Oh, big mistake. But it wasn't a whole like, it wasn't like 99% like usual anytime there's any kind of a change that's outside of whatever is in somebody's mind.
Yeah.
It was he's a really good voice actor. I don't know who he is, but they're probably keeping his identity under wraps so you guys don't go like freaking like dox him or something. But,
yeah, right. Jesus.
Terry Crews.
I mean, I didn't watch any of the gameplay or character videos or background story.
Yeah, I watched all that.
I didn't watch any of that, but I did look over his skills and stuff, and it seems pretty neat. I like his passive thing where as he's murdering, he becomes more resilient.
Oh yeah.
I like that. That is a fun, specific type of character that people will be like, "Oh, I'll be amazing," and they'll go do stuff and they'll die real quick.
Yeah.
But other people who really figure him out will be really hard to kill, and it'll be really cool. So I think that's a neat character.
His like ultimate ability is pretty much the same as like Steel in Paragon. They jump up in the air, they ground slam an AoE area in a circle, and people get stunned and hurt real bad.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I was like, oh yeah, hey Steel, how you doing? I mean, Doomfist, but that's one of those things where these games had concurrent issues when they first released. Not necessarily first release. Yeah, first release where people were making comparisons. Even with that other game, emphasize you were playing it that one day. Paladins. Even with that game, people were like, "Oh, look, this character's just this other character over there."
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
Sept with a better rack.
That they were both being developed at the same time, but because Overwatch is, of course, like the mainstream one, compares to it. But that's like every genre.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anything made by Gizzard is amazing.
Yeah. So.
Gizzard all over my body.
People aren't very creative nowadays, so everyone just kind of remaster things, or just like copies off of each other. So
that reminds me of like some YouTuber's video about Wukong and Paragon. He's like, so we wanted to make another like split lane pusher, and every mode was got to have one, and they got to have the Monkey King. So we decided to put it all in one. Yeah, that's some YouTuber that was just funny. Yeah, well, there's this guy, and I don't really always do that. I really hardly ever do this. This guy on YouTube called Mongoose. I think that's his name. If you just search Mongoose and like Revenant or Mongoose Phase or something like that, you'll see his like real take or whatever on the Paragon heroes. Some of them, it is so fucking great. It is so good. He did really good editing on his lines. And he's real in there with like the community, like he knows what the issues are with the characters. So it's, but it brings it back enough to where if you're just a gamer, you're like, huh, they made a support character so hard to kill. It's ridiculous. Wow, she's just support, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, pretty funny stuff. We were kind of having a kick at that yesterday. But yeah. Doomfist showed up. He's pretty neat. Voice actor's pretty cool. I like the animation. It was kind of neat. I'm not even into Overwatch. I don't really care for it too much. But
Me neither.
A
lot of people are, though.
I will be a little immature here and say not Terry Crews. What the fuck? But it's probably just because he just costs too much. Honestly,
Yeah.
Yeah, they just probably couldn't work that deal out because they will. Business will do what business would do. Somebody just wasn't going to get paid enough. That's all. So, at least that's what I think. Or somebody got some weird kind of egotistical hurt, and so something didn't happen. I've seen that happen too. Oh god. Yeah. On big contracts for hospital related
Prima
things.
donna shit.
Yeah. Moving on. Yeah. Zenimax being sued over use of a song in ads. We talked about this a little bit. It's for Fallout, the Fallout series. Well, the latest Fallout 4.
Fallout 4.
So apparently there's an ad from the singer-songwriter Dion DiMucci. I think that's right. Don't sue me. Or sue me. I could use the actual press. That's fine. And the song's called The Wanderer. It's like an old 50s song, and I know it pretty well. And you could see it in ads for Fallout. Apparently they paid for the use of the song, but he's suing saying what is it here? Apparently, he had an agreement with.
He agreed,
Universal Music Group.
but he gets final say, or he gets to put input or something, or he gets a little bit nuance. They can check with him or whatever, and they didn't do that, and now he's blah blah. Now my song is associated with all this crazy young murderous jibber jabber and whatever.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that someone didn't get paid enough thing. Because what it says here is, under the terms of the agreement, DiMucci argues he had the right to prohibit the use of his song unless his terms were met first. Now, the problem is, with the wording that I have, that I'm reading there, is that he argues that, which means, well, if it's your right, you don't have to argue it.
Correct.
I don't think. But that could just be the normal terminology that they use to say, I'm bringing up a valid point that, this shouldn't have happened, To me, when I read it like that, I'm like, well, you shouldn't have to argue something that's an actual line item statement that you agreed to. But I'm not sure. I'm guessing that there might be a little gray area there that they're trying to take advantage of. It's California, apparently, that they're suing in.
Yep.
And seems
like
a lot of stuff goes down there.
This is what I'm assuming happened. All right. So they put that in the contract, but no one gives a shit about that kind of stuff, right? I mean, he's doing that because he's I'm well known. I have a reputation. So whatever, let's put it in there.
Right.
And so he didn't give a crap about it. And then probably one day, went to his own YouTube page and looked at the song, and there's all these 12-year-olds commenting, "This is a song from Fallout 4." And stupid memes are probably on there about killing dog meat or some crap like that, or
everything else that comes up.
Stupid shit. Yeah, and then he's probably what the fuck is this? And then he decided to sue.
I think probably that. I always tie it back to money too. I'm pretty sure it might be a little bit, probably. But somebody needs a little money, I'm sure. It's very well known that way back they did not get very good deals for their albums, So I wouldn't, So who knows how the kind of, but I'm sure you're right too. I'm sure somebody just did the deal and he just had to sign off on it, or maybe they even had a right of attorney to do that for him because whatever, It's I don't want to deal with any of this anymore. As long as you're getting me money, that's all I care about, right?
Yep.
And then maybe somebody got a bug up their ass somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't even him. Maybe somebody related to him was did you know? Who knows? You never really know in these.
Your song was so beautiful, and now there's these big green men exploding into meaty, fleshy chunks, and there's people getting hit by hammers.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys know YouTube comments. I'm actually reading them right now, and it's Dion, the first fuckboy.
Man.
It's stupid shit. If the feminazis get a hold of this shit, they're gonna have a bigger meltdown than Chernobyl. Stupid shit like that. He probably saw that one day because he was bored, and what the hell is all this 9-year-olds memeing on my YouTube
somehow
page?
It got to his attention. Yeah, somehow. But
they're memeing on my dreamings.
Yeah, it's probably, like I said, I'm guessing it was a little bit of a gray area there. And, here's the other thing. There might have been a little bit of kind of goodwill. I know it's crazy, right? But a little bit of like good faith, like, all right, whatever. He's probably, no one ever, messes with this or whatever. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
We just signed, this contract's been fine for all these other times we've used it. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
It's true.
It's hard to say.
I think that's kind of what terms of service that's why the terms of service change all the time for different like gaming companies, because someone finds a loophole or some shit happens and then they go and change it, and that's why it changes all the time and no one notices it.
No, I agree. It always takes it's kind of like testing a game, it's like, oh, we wrote all the code for this specific thing, and then some jackass like myself, for example, was like, oh, hey, did you know you could jump off this cliff really easily? Wait, why would you do that? Because I can. Because I wanted to see if I could. Can we model this so they can't jump off this? That's just, we don't want that to happen. Yeah, exactly. So
I'm pretty sure when they hire like beta testers for those games, they don't look for the like 10-year-old kids who do like the stupidest shit in the games.
That's right.
It's all normal people.
Normal people. They think of logical things that people might accident, right? Not like, no one would ever do that. Oh God, they would do that.
Can I clip through this wall?
Who would punch this random object on the table 300 times, and apparently on the 300th time it makes you fall through the map?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
No one would ever do that.
No one
until
knew.
Someone does.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God. Yeah. Oh, these textures on this Coke bottle are fine. It's not a Coke bottle. And it's like, oh, what does this say? No, okay, fine. We need to change it. Apparently, some jackass is complaining on YouTube, made a huge video. Yeah.
One of my favorite moments, I will have to say, is when I felt the incline to Janzer when I was playing Doom.
Oh, yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. That does... I don't know. I in that story for the Zenimax thing, by the way, I don't really know. I think it's just a lawsuit, and it's based on like a creator's whatever, and this kind of stuff happens often enough. So I don't, I'm like, business as usual. It's
right.
Yeah. This is where I do the shrug emote. Yeah.
Yep.
So but as far as like changing stuff and all that, there's a couple of games that got some updates that I saw of note. Well, at least to me. Even if I don't own them. Mass Effect Andromeda, still doing updates, by the way. Still. Yep. Games never end. Game development. This is the age of the product is okay to ship. And I blame, you know what? I blame startup companies for this kind of stuff. I really do. I blame the adoption of certain practices. What is it? Like Lean, for example, and Agile. Because people started taking that to the to an excessive, like we just need a MVP, minimum viable product. Get the fuck. To me, the way I was taught things, and I mean that in like real life when it came to work, and also in university stuff, like in college stuff for my degree, an MVP was called "you're gonna fail." So if you ever turn that in, and I think that there's definitely like, and once again, that being minimum viable product, meaning like, look, the car runs, it may not have doors, but the thing is working, okay? To me, it's just extremely sloppy way of getting things done. But it's an acceptable way of handling things now. And I can see uses for it, but like a lot of things, it could just it's just taken to the extreme so much that it burns people so much. That's why Kickstarters fail, that kind of stuff. It's just, we didn't actually do all of the work in this. Now we're going to have to actually just shut this down. So sorry, here's your money back in like 9 months or whatever,
I think the problem with I think Kickstarter is an okay concept, and I felt like if it's low key, I feel like it would work, because there are those people who are really dedicated to their product, but now people think of it as like it could be a huge money grab.
Oh yeah.
And like even if you get all this money from people that are investing in your game, like, oh, it's okay, like we put in the work, but we still we don't release anything, and we just keep the money or whatever, because that's happened. Like people have gotten away with taking investment money and just running with it type of thing, and so others feel like they can do that too. So kind of a snowball effect in a way.
I think I'm on like maybe one, maybe two Kickstarters at most. I know I'm on one. It's for a game that they keep pumping out. I think I'm on two. But they keep pumping out developments, and they put them on. They post like updates on Twitter and all that. That's great. But I've heard of so many games that just fail, or you just don't hear anything about it at all. And 6 months will go by, still nothing, that kind of thing. So it's a very
that has happened to me.
Yeah. And the hard thing is, it's like they could just be very bad at like giving any kind of like communication, because they might just think to themselves, well, we're going to work on the product. We don't feel any need to like give any communication out because we're working. That's what we're doing, Or it could be the worst, which is the other thing, which is, no, we burned all that money on hookers and coke. So which we've heard stuff about that too. So yeah, strip clubs or whatever. That was some game that I remember that happening on, where they burned money.
I kickstarted a game a couple years back, and of course it's one of those things where like, oh my god, no one's ever made a game like this. Let's I need to play this. And and it was, of course it was like open world zombie related when that wasn't really a thing.
Right.
Procedurally generated maps with open world zombies. I was like, oh, God. So I was waiting for that a couple years. It's actually supposed to be something kind of like that. But I was waiting for it to come out. We check it every day, go to the forums, everyone's all excited, and then all of a sudden things get delayed because we did all this work on this engine, but we got to port it to another engine because we miscalculated how much whatever memory it's going to eat, or I don't know. So it got ported to like 3 engines, and then it closed down, and then
oh god,
that's it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So were you talking about the multiplayer update with Andromeda?
Yeah.
Or something different?
I know we go off on tangents, but that's fine. Update, new difficulty, platinum adds veteran bonus ranks, gives more power, a bunch of stuff like that. Boosted ultra rare. Basically, they buffed some ultra rare weapons that people felt weren't really. It's ultra rare. Give me something, And they felt like they weren't really doing a whole lot. They really worked in more facial animations and cinematic improvements, which once again goes back to that whole, hey, you didn't do this right, but they're still working on it, which is crazy and good at the same time. It's a weird thing. It's such a weird thing. It's because I want to praise them for continually working on it, even though pretty much a lot of that got broken up, like the development team and all that. And I'm pretty sure it got dissolved, in fact, that entire thing. But at the same time, it's such a bad instance of a large company doing something the wrong way. So, like, it's the best and the worst in a way, you know?
You feel for them and you applaud them, but they did fuck up.
Because it's like, you shouldn't have done it. It's like, you can't do that if you're that big of a company. You can't. Then there's fixed issues where players could... this was a weird one. We'll get into I'll talk about yours, but I just want to bring this real quick. Fixed issue where player could commit to relationships with both Jaal and Cora concurrently. I'm like, wait a second.
Yep.
Wait a second. Gender fluidity is fine. Dating of the same species is fine. What's up with my polygamy? Why can't I have this?
And that has never been a thing. And I remember them talking about that in a previous update. Like, I don't know if they were starting to fix it or they acknowledged it. But I was like, huh.
I want to rep that Mormon life in digital life. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Why can't I romance everybody in one playthrough? Fuck everybody.
I was
Slut it up.
Making a harem in Life is Strange with Max, so why can't I do that in this game? Don't be sad, girl Kate. You're part of the group now. And by group, I mean you're my hooker. So anyways. What were you saying? Do you know more about the multiplayer for that?
Based on my extensive experience of the first game, Platinum already existed, and it was basically higher tiered enemies more frequently and greater number, and it had the maximum number of rewards. And I'm guessing it's going to follow that exact same format.
What's interesting is
everything else seemed to.
Yeah, everything else seemed to. So, the veteran bonus ranks are the same and all.
Veteran bonus ranks includes jargon that I'm not as familiar with, but it could be exactly the same as something else that I've experienced, but it's the new name of it, but I'm not 100%. But Platinum mode itself, like, Platinum was very much so part of the previous multiplayer Mass Effect experience.
Okay.
So.
This is going to tie into that story about the update for Breath of the Wild, or is it Link's New Adventure? I don't know what it's called.
Breath of the Wild is the
Breath of the
new
Wild.
one.
There you go. You know how they're?
Right.
I was like, isn't this so weird that they're adding in with the DLC like new difficulties? You know, I talked about how, you know, by the way, I think MEA. No. The other one, just really quickly. Horizon Zero Dawn update is going to get New Game Plus mode, Ultra Hard mode, and a bunch of other fixes as well. But this tied back to me in my mind. I was like, so why do you got to pay for it in Breath of the Wild? You know, and this is what I was asking about, like, you know, like
Nintendo.
Well, yeah, I know it's because people they'll pay for it. That's why.
Yeah,
I know that's the answer. I know it, but it's not right. Every other game, like Dark Souls has a Bloodborne. I was talking about that. I was like, what if the Chalices were a paid DLC? That might be okay because they're different areas, they're different bosses, you know, that kind of stuff, right? But they're not like, hey, guess what? You want to buy New Game Plus mode? What? Do you want to buy another difficulty mode? No, I don't. I mean, I want to play another difficulty, but I don't want to buy it. You know, what if Doom's highest difficulty mode was part of a DLC instead? You know, it just. Yeah. You're right. It is because of Nintendo, and that literally is all you have to say. But that's still not right.
Yeah.
I just don't think it is, at least personally.
I feel like they could have locked Link as the protagonist under a pay fee, but the rest of the game is there. I bet you. Of course, people very logically and hopefully would be very upset with that. But I guarantee half of the people that owned a Switch would still fucking buy Link.
What if you play Link, but you can't use
and
his,
not
like,
even complain
iconic
about
sword? You know,
you do like Baby Link DLC.
Wait, wasn't it? Who's the character? Was it Linklet or Linkette or what was the Linkling or? There was
Zelda?
some. It's a female Link, but people were like, they don't like her. And I was like, well, first off, have you seen what she looks like? Her outfit's ridiculous. Link.
I need evidence.
Yeah, Linkle, I think is what it's called. Linkle.
Linkle.
Let me look this up real quick.
I see
Linkle.
her.
That's exactly her name. But I think she's got like a silly hood on.
It's a terrible name.
Yeah, it is a terrible name too.
Linkle.
Where's the actual digital version that I saw? Maybe they don't have an actual one. Well, that's a cosplaying busty woman.
Okay, so she's got it looks like a Little Red Riding Hood type of like hood like coat, but it like ties in the front, and she's got pigtails or whatever that are braided to the front. She's blonde.
Was she in Hyrule Warriors? Maybe that's where.
Apparently, that's where she came from, or that's where she made her debut.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which is why I didn't know she even existed.
Well, I guess she was in other games, but you could. That's where you could play her for the first time.
Somewhere in the week, I came across like a bunch of like hate for that character. I was like, what's going on here? Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, that would be like an unlockable character maybe for DLC for Breath of the Wild, I guess. Maybe. You know, something like that. You know, maybe not Baby Link, but, you know, something more like... Is there a Baby Link in the games? I don't know anything about Link games. I
think it's called Young Link, and I think it was one of the Smash Brothers.
Young Link. It's like beer, Youngling. All right.
Yeah. Pennsylvania beer.
America. Let's take a look here at this link. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was something else I had seen that was probably maybe not as great looking, but that looks fine to me. I don't know what the hate is, but who knows? I don't know the internet.
Other than you're destroying my nostalgia by creating a new thing that's different slightly, which is, whatever.
You mean like Captain America being Hydra?
Hydra!
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I remember you bringing this up in the Discord, Graham, and you were like, "What's going on? What is
People
this?"
seem triggered by this. I don't understand.
Yeah, because it's bullshit is what it is. It's like,
that's
hey,
what it
guess what?
sounded
By the
like.
way, Superman, Nazi the entire time.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so here's how this goes. Yeah, basically, Graham was like, "What's going on with this article? Why is Captain America Hydra? I don't understand. Why is he Nazi? I don't get it. What's going on here?" It's to me after I knew about this, and to me, I think it's a bunch of bullshit, and it's just marketing trying to get some sales, and I'm going to stand by that because that's a lot of what Marvel is doing right now in comic books. They're just like, what can we do to shock people to bring in sales to get them interested in what's going on, because DC is killing it right now with their stuff. They're doing a great job with story and making pretty damn good stories and stuff like that, whereas in the world of Marvel, X-Men, mutants are going away, and this rise of the Inhumans, and basically everything that people knew, they're just trying to turn it on its head, So, and it's just so much. It's just too much, There was something that was like, anyways.
After processing all the information, with the minimal amount of effort I put into it just to gain some understanding, my conclusion from it was they didn't have anything really interesting, so they decided, here's a crazy idea, and then they had to go backwards in time and create a justification for it, as opposed to something that would be understandable by saying, hey, look, the hints were all here. Right. So instead of creating something that could exist from what did exist, they're just like, nope, we're just going to do this, and now we're going to create a backstory that doesn't make sense to justify it.
Right. If there was a long play there by the original creators that said, look, one day you're going to need something, like a big story arc. You're going to need that. This is how we're going to develop that, timeline. And so we just drop these little things, and this is how you can drop little things like that in, because they know people are going to take over that at some point. But that's not what happened. Nope. Instead, it was just like one of those Deus Ex Machina things where they're just like, oh, yeah, so, that didn't actually happen. No, we didn't win. Allies didn't win World War II. It's totally Nazis, So, and that's kind of like that's kind of like a thing that we've seen a few story arcs with. The Man on the High Tower, and then, of course, Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein coming out is going to be like that as well. But it makes sense with Wolfenstein because that's the universe that exists in, And yes, Captain America did fight Nazis back in the day and Hydra and all that, and they still kind of, bring them about relatively. But Captain America is such a big part of the Marvel universe now, and he crosses over a lot. He really wasn't back in the 90s. He really not he was Captain, get out of my face. He was just kind of a boring character.
Yeah, fuck that guy. That's how I felt about it when I was younger.
Yeah, he was boring. And they've done a lot with them and made him this, I'm the super Avenger, the most Avenger. And I'm like, that's cool. That's neat. They're doing something with them. But it's just ridiculous. It literally is just somebody writing in and then it was all a dream or something like that,
Yes. It feels like that when you get to the end of something and they're just like, by the way, none of it was real.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
Nobody really likes that unless
what the fuck, man?
The story itself is so fantastical that you can kind of get the feel that it's not really based on reality, Granted, this is comics and all that, so clearly. But they have their own little world. So in the world, though, that's crazy of that world.
Yes.
So yes, it is to me a big money cash grab. You're trying to, look at us. And some of the controversy that I read and things was look, the original guys were Jewish guys. They would never have done this. That's not something that they wanted him to stand for. That's nothing, So, if you really want to get oh, my, whatever is getting hurt, then you're going to go that route too. And I can see that route too. If it was my piece of work, would I be anti myself in a way, based on my history of my family line and all that? It's just would you be and then it turns out that this Native American character that I created really just slaughtered other Native Americans, and it's like, I don't know that I would want to promote that as like my legacy in comics.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
But who knows? Those guys might have been like really like, it might sell a few books, I don't know. That's my horrible Jewish accent. So, that's pretty much it. That's what the Captain America Hydra is. So,
instead of doing that, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't read comic books nowadays, but I used to a lot. They have like this spin-off series for Marvel where instead of like let's say Wolverine's actual his backstory, they actually do like a spin-off story that makes no sense. And there's a name for it, but I can't think of it right now. It's
there's a few names
or something like that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of sometimes they don't even name them like a overarching name, but there was the What If series, like they're literally what if the Hulk killed Wolverine, but there's also little ones that they don't necessarily what if, they're called something else. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they absolutely could have done that as like a breaking point. Like they could have continued on two different arcs. I think the problem with that is then you're definitely splitting your audience as well, which is kind of crazy. But if you do it as a very contained story for a few, issues, then it's not so bad. But yeah, man, I think the other thing with that is nothing gambled, so you don't really feel like, we know this is gonna not be a real thing,
permanent or whatever. Yeah.
Right. But the problem is that's what people really do think is going to happen at the end of the day with the Captain America thing as well. They think that it's going to be like, well, someone's going to come in and wish it all back the opposite way, like we'll make it the fake way again, or what's it? There was a scene from this movie. Gosh, and I can't remember. It was a derpy, silly movie about assassins. It had like John Leguizamo in it, I think, as well. But there was this thing where they were like trying to trace a phone call, and they're like, "Well, I've got a tracer breaker. Oh yeah, well, what if he has a tracer breaker? Well, I've got a tracer breaker." And
you're talking about not John Leguizamo, but what is it? Lou Diamond Phillips.
Lou Diamond Phillips. There you go. Yeah, and it was like about assassins, and there was this one dude. There was this black guy was like, he had apparently never masturbated in his life. And they're like, yeah, you could totally do this. And he was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Look, I'm going to stay in for this week. I'm not even dating women anymore. He was like, do you know the return on investment? He was just all like amazed that it was just weird. This is a silly, weird movie. Like something about like kidnapping some young girl.
Yeah, I saw it. I actually saw it in the theater. It's called The Big Hit. It had
Mark
Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg. Lou Diamond Phillips, and it was like 4 guys. They looked like a boy band or something like that.
Yeah, it was the Tracer Buster or the oh my God, Trace Buster. Yeah, that scene stays in my head anytime anyone ever says anything about like, what about countering? And I'm like, you're right. They could have a Tracer Buster. Yeah, just give.
And they actually did. They had like a Tracer Buster, and they tracked them.
They totally did. Yeah, it was silly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's what they think is going to happen. Like they think it's going to just eventually go back to normal because it's Captain America, right? They even had made Captain America like, who was the guy? Falcon. Falcon's a black dude for anybody, because
Captain
that's the thing
Falcon?
with Marvel. No, he's just Falcon. He's in the Avengers as well.
The fly guy who reminds me of Vulture, except he's good.
Yeah. So apparently he had become Captain America, but that people aren't really like hooking on to that story because once again, it's that same thing where they're forcing something to kind of happen. And it's like such a change that they're doing it just because. Like making the Hulk is now like some Amadeus Cho is the guy's name. So he's an Asian dude. But it's just like the total opposite of whatever was there. Thor was like some woman, just I don't even know. But that's the problem. They didn't build up to like how this could be a good story. They just was like, oh, Iron Man is like Riri Williams or something like that, some young black girl. It just, there's nothing wrong with doing it, but do it in a way that makes some logical progression and eases people in, especially if you know your audience, you know they're going to fucking riot. So, you know, do something like DC has changed a lot, you know, certain things, or they've added characters that were the opposite, like especially with Green Lanterns. The Green Lanterns have been all over the place, but they write them pretty damn well. So that's the big difference. That's why DC, like right now among comic book heads, is comic book nerds, whatever, is just actually doing a good job. Even me, who never I didn't grow up with DC. I always thought they were lame as fuck, because they were. They were. But their story arcs are pretty damn good. So at least right now they are. So, but yeah, just a weird thing. I hate what Marvel's doing with the mutants right now. I don't like all that. There's also all kinds of crazy things where, like, there's too many split and fractured universes. It's just all over the place, you know. It's just really all over the place, you know. So
I was actually gonna say that, like, sometimes I think about getting back into it, and then I look into it, and it's like it's everywhere. So it's just so much to process that I just don't want to bother.
Yeah, like for me, I want some kind of grounded baseline to work off of. But if you go and it's like Doom is like the ruler of the universe in one of these instances where everyone lives on like Battle Planet or whatever, and it's all broken up into different sectors, and you find out that the Hulks were a thing and they had a whole line of things or whatever, they ruled, and then over here you've got, you know, it's just too much. It's too much. It's like, which is the real reality here? I don't like this. So I can't tell what's right anymore. Even Spider-Man's like that. Spider-Man was Doc Ock, then he's not. Now he's not with Mary Jane, which is a travesty, and then he is. I don't even know anymore. I don't even care. There's 5 different Spider-Mans anyways, so, you know. But I think with the Spider-Man, at least they wrote those characters, like, you know, Miles Morales or Spider-Man 2099. All that, they wrote them. They've been writing Spider-Man 2099, I think that came out like in the 90s, you know? So it's not like they just did it or something like that. So, yeah, comic book talk. Everyone loves it. I know. Along the heels of that, yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't know anything about the movie. I just know that's the new young Spider-Man from the Avengers, and
which I really liked.
Yeah, he's all right. He's all right.
Are you talking about the Avengers or Spider-Man?
Spider-Man Homecoming. It's
the
actor from.
But it's the same Spider-Man that we saw in the Avengers movie.
Yeah, he's like some.
Also, you watched it already.
Oh, did you watch it? I didn't see it.
I have not seen the new Spider-Man, but I've seen the Avengers.
Okay, that's why I was confused when you said you liked him. I thought whether you had seen the movie or it was from Avengers that you liked.
Oh, no, I haven't seen the movie. No,
I haven't seen Homecoming. But I liked what I had saw of this Spider-Man in the Avengers. I felt like it was very true to the way I picture Spider-Man being a sarcastic, kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Raxel's right. Marvel's killing movies, but DC is slaughtering Marvel. Yep. In comics, it's true. And the Spider-Man game looks good, too. We saw that in E3. Looks neat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about Homecoming. The trailers looked fun. You know, that's about it. I know that... let's see. What's that guy's name? Michael... some guy's playing the Vulture. Michael... the guy that played Batman way back, the original Batman.
Keaton?
There you go. Keaton. Yep. He's playing the Vulture bad guy. So he's staying along with these bird roles / flying people, hero roles, you know. Batman, then he was Birdman in literally the movie Birdman. Which I never saw, but I heard was really good.
Either.
Just never saw it. I should watch it. Probably.
So, real quick, I don't know. I wanted to recommend a show. I don't know if you guys have watched the Marvel show called Legion that airs on FX.
I haven't because I don't have cable.
Nope.
But I've heard it's good.
I also don't have TV things.
I've never heard of it, and then I was just because I was on a Marvel binge watching thing for a couple months.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, I need more Marvel, and I heard about Legion. It's a show that airs on FX, and it's really good. It's unlike regular Marvel stuff you'd see full on action. It's actually really I don't even know what you'd call it. It's kind of a melodrama, but it's also supposed to be about Professor X's son. So
Yeah.
Legion is Professor X's his son, and it's actually a really good show. So I mean, if you get a chance, you should take a look.
Yeah. I'm familiar with the show. Never seen it. I'm very familiar with the character. Like Legion is basically he's Legion because he has all these different personalities in his head. He can absorb like other mutant powers, and he's super powerful. He can warp reality. That's one of the storylines that's going on right now, or was going on in Marvel. I'm not even sure anymore, where he warped all of reality to whatever he wanted. So mutants were like on one island, which that storyline's been done before, and the entire world is attacking them. And he's super powerful, is really what it comes down to. But he's also got like some really weird characters in his head. One of them being like it's either an arsonist or a terrorist or something like that.
It's
So,
like some, yeah, it's what's his face? Probably heard of Shadow King. Shadow King is a Marvel character.
Yeah, I know Shadow King. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's a spoiler, but yeah.
Well,
anyways, it's like a mindfuck show. Like it gets you thinking, and you're like, "What the hell is going on?" Type of. That's what you're saying. Like the whole time you're watching the show is like you don't know what's going on, but you can't stop watching because it's so interesting. I mean, that's at least how I feel.
And if it helps anybody, I'm pretty sure Aubrey Plaza is in that show as well. If it's not her, then it's the other one that I confused with Aubrey Plaza. But I'm pretty sure it's her. She
is on the show.
Yeah, there you go. But no, I heard it's great. I would definitely watch it. But I just don't have access. So, and I'm not like gonna scramble to get access either. But speaking of shows, Castlevania apparently. Castlevania video game, Netflix animated show, not video game, but from the video game.
I was about to say.
The animated show is on Netflix. Started the 7th, which was yesterday for me because we're on the 8th. I don't know about y'all.
I saw the ad earlier.
Yeah, so that should be good. I heard that. I haven't heard reviews yet. I haven't read any reviews, but the trailer for it looked amazing. And I know that the writer for it was somebody that had written a bunch of comics, and they have a pretty good reputation for putting out good quality work. Gosh, I wish I remembered his name. I think I had it somewhere, but I didn't put it in my notes. But it's got a good pedigree, basically, is what it comes down to. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be good. But I would definitely, I canceled my Netflix like about a month or so ago, so I'd watch it. I'd be on it right now. But yeah, I'm sure it's probably pretty good. But if you haven't, or you didn't, or you weren't aware, definitely go check that out. Yes. Should be good shit.
They've aired 2 episodes. Looks like there's 2 episodes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm just looking at it because I didn't know there was a Castlevania animated show. It's pretty cool.
But did they get what is it? Smooth McGroove? Is that what that guy's name is? Did they get him to do the music for it? Because if they didn't, they fucked up. I'm just kidding. But I do like his show. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a game. It's a free-to-play game called The Tomorrow Children.
That sounds like
no
X-Men.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I came across an article that the servers are shutting down November 1st. Apparently, this is a game that went into beta like a little bit over a year ago, and then it released fully last October, but I've never heard of it, which is probably why it's ending, because not enough people are playing it. But yeah, I was just like, I don't know if anybody knows what that game is. What is it called? Free-to-play... The Tomorrow Children. It's a dystopian future thing. I think it's PlayStation connected.
Sounds like a non-profit or something.
Yeah. To me, it sounded like either something for a X-Men title, the Tomorrow Children, the Future Children, whatever, or what's that one movie? Wasn't there something called something like the
Day After Tomorrow?
No. It was about like nobody was being born, and then some child was born. Tomorrow. Oh gosh. Oh man. Okay, I'm in my brain is in one of those modes where I can't make proper connection to like labeled items anymore.
That's like me all the time.
It'll come to me. Whatever. Anyways, but there is a movie, Children of Tomorrow, Man of Children, Children of Man, Children of Man.
Oh yeah, with what's his face? Wow.
Honestly, I
Clive
don't think
Owen.
of his. Yeah, I was gonna say I honestly don't think of his name very
What's up,
often.
Doc and shit from
But
that
his
other
face
movie
is
they
very
did.
familiar. It's like a chiseled
Yeah.
face. Yeah, there you go.
That's a very
Clive
good
Owen.
but sad movie. Children of Men, I think is what it's called.
Children of Men. Yeah, I think so. That's what it
Yeah,
reminded me
but the Tomorrow Children is apparently a mix of a Minecraft-esque game with social economics and a Soviet Union themed post-apocalyptic dystopia.
Is it also a battle royale?
Apparently, probably, but yeah, apparently it's
Just
only
throw
on
all the shit in there.
PlayStation 4.
With zombies.
But it is a free to play. So yeah. So anybody who apparently may have any clue of what that game was, I was like, oh, a game's closing its servers. That's interesting.
Somewhere someone is crying.
But yeah,
it's
yeah,
true.
exactly. But yeah, probably not like go play it tonight.
Why?
But on the flip side, and something more positive, I suppose, the Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor got an update, and there's all the free-to-play weekend that is currently going on, and
Which will probably be
it's
over
been
by the time
on
this
sale
comes out.
like ridiculously a lot recently.
Yeah,
but
like $4 for the Game of the Year
apparently,
edition.
yeah, recently I guess the most recent update will allow you to include your save state to the new one, which will allow what is the system called?
So you can import your save or something like that, kind of like Mass Effect.
Yeah, kind of the.
I know, like the Nemesis system or some crap like that.
Yes, the Nemesis system. That's what it's called. Thank you. I was like, what the
Oh.
fuck is that thing called? So it'll somehow carry that over in some capacity. So, driven by player history, the Nemesis system is still unique to the Middle-earth series to date. This new update expands it further and delivers more on the sequel's tagline, nothing will be forgotten. So, I guess they're just being like, hey, with this new update, there's going to be more carryover, so keep playing the first game, because there'll be some cool stuff with the second one, I guess.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
played a little bit of that. I have a recommendation for anyone running on a PC. Turn off VSync. Normally, people like to turn off VSync because they're like, it messes with my controller. It's not that bad. It's a great thing if you play on a TV, which I do, an LCD TV. It's LCD, so it really is not that much different than an actual monitor, but it's just bigger. But I need that VSync for 60 hertz to actually like not have screen tearing. I don't care. 60 frames per second is good enough for the gaming that I do. I don't need 120, and I can't even support it anyway, so what does it matter? But normally VSync saves my life a lot of the times, especially when I'm streaming, because I want to limit the frame rate down to something and not have it go fucking nuts. Like, hey, in this section I can do 250 frames per second. Look at your processing power now. It just don't overtax yourself, please. That's fine. 60 is good, but turn that off and do unlimited frames, and you'll get rid of your screen tearing. But it's a really weird. Like I had to mess with the settings quite a lot. It also had a thing where it's the only game that I've had that looked super dark. Like it was hard to see stuff. That I really had to mess with my TV settings to where when I go to other things, it doesn't look quite right anymore. Like everything else is then like saturation's incorrect. So I don't know. There's something a little quirky on the PC for me, for that I run into, and I'm very technical when it comes to my games and streaming and all that stuff. I really get into all that stuff. I also recommend using a controller. You can use keyboard and mouse, but you're going to get the mouse floaty feel because it has like mouse acceleration or something like that. If there's a way to turn that off, I just haven't looked. I haven't Googled it yet. And that just means that your mouse is going to feel like you're steering a big tugboat or something like that, It's not super, super bad, but if you're so used to using the mouse for precision the way I have been for years, you're going to immediately see it. So, or feel it, I should say. But otherwise, really fun game. Doesn't take, like, from what I could tell, a high level of competency when it comes to, like, fighting things. I was on stream and I was, like, just, like, hitting I was like, look, everyone, I'm hitting 4 buttons and just, like, getting these amazing kills. And, the game is really forgiving and it's really welcoming to players that don't want to, it's a pretty casual, very fun game. That's for sure. It's got a lot of depth to it from what I can tell as well. So it's like an easy entry, but probably a lot of nuance for people that give a shit. So,
yeah.
No, I think we've all played it because I remember Brian played it during his 24-hour thing, and you said you just got it, and I played it some too. I just remember thinking about streaming it, and just like the frame rate was garbage. So like,
Yeah. I figured out what my issue was, which was those two things. And actually, I think I posted that fix in the Discord as well. Although I had come to that resolution during the stream because I streamed it like super early in the morning. And I just when that happens,
the same problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was screen tearing and the frame rate was not really great. So, like I said, normally VSync saves my life because it doesn't overtax the system because it's only doing all right. Limit to 60. That's fine. But in this case, for whatever reason, it was actually causing it was causing screen tearing. And I read some garbage on the internet that said, well, the last update caused this and it broke that. I don't know what's true or not. I do know what works though, So there was also another recommendation to go into, if you have an NVIDIA card, to go into your settings there and put on like force triple buffering and put adaptive VSync on, and that would help. I didn't touch that, but I can't say that would hurt. Adaptive VSync is not bad at all on NVIDIA cards. So there you go. Yeah, you might want to try that. Like I said, I get really technical with my stuff. Like I love troubleshooting. Somebody was like, "You love troubleshooting? That sounds horrible." And I was like, I don't. I like figuring out problems. It's like,
Actually,
yeah.
I don't think I had a problem with the game. I think it was just trying to like run it with OBS, and then it's kind of when I had the same issue with the Division. It might be like a Ubisoft thing where, it's just like what is it called? Your CPU's like maxing out when you're trying to stream it and stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a consistent Ubisoft thing.
Yeah, I've hammered out those problems too. That I had the same. Like I tried streaming in Rainbow Six Siege just not too long ago, and where I had consistently been able to do it before, I was getting like slideshow on. I was like, "What in the shit is going on?" And it turned out it was a mix of like my OBS settings that I needed to adjust and just update, because the game updates as well. They keep updating. Well, they update both things. They update OBS and they update Rainbow Six Siege. The Division, same thing. There was updates to the Division. There was an update to OBS just recently as well. And once again, I was having issues with both of those games. Fire effects or smoke effects in the Division were causing my PC to go like, hey, 3 frames per second is good for you, right?
I remember that.
Yeah.
When that first happened.
Yeah, I am hardcore about like figuring out like technical issues with games. The only one that's ever been an issue for me that I never bothered with was a game that I got for free from Graham, in fact. It was like Far Cry. It was like a Far Cry game.
Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Blood Dragon. There you go. Blood Dragon.
Yep.
Yeah, I should go back to it because it looks like a fun game, but it wouldn't even start. The other game that was like that was Dark Souls. Dark Souls would crash if you tried to hook it a certain way. Later on, you figure out how to do that, but the original Dark Souls, that is. Anyways, only one game. So I'm like, 99-1 or whatever, win-wise, with one game actually defeating me, but I probably should just go back and go kick its ass, but whatever. Important part is, there's usually a fix out there. It's got to go and dig and keep dinking with it if you have the time, and I have lots of time. So.
Dig and dink.
Yeah. We were talking about comics before we get too far away from it. There was some, and we talked about a couple games. Yeah, they're Tomorrow Children, Middle Earth, but apparently Captain Marvel is going to come out, which is a comics. I didn't want to get too far away from that. Captain Marvel is a woman, by the way. I know it's Captain, but guess what? Captain's just a title. It can be men or women. So Captain Marvel initially, I think, was a guy that transferred his powers over to a female character way, 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 way back. Like that's the origination of the character, right? It was there's the Scree, and then there's another race that I can't quite remember because I'm not so up on my my Fantastic Four lore in comics. But the Scree, I believe, are the ones that are all stretchy and whatnot. Or they can adapt to like anything and like shapeshift. I think that's what they're like. And they can they're basically like better than most like superheroes. You know, they're super strong, all kinds of crazy shit. Anyways, important thing is that other race, whatever it was, they're like kind of like really strong too. Like Captain Marvel can fly, kind of like Superman.
Yeah,
is basically what Captain Marvel's like. And Sam Jackson apparently has not been in a like Marvel movie since like Winter Soldier, when he got all hurt in that movie. If you guys watched that, great. If you didn't, well, now you know he got hurt in that movie. Not in real life, just his character did, and he kind of went into hiding in that movie. So people were like, "Hey, where's Sam Jackson? Is he done with like the Marvel franchise?" No, he's going to return. And apparently, they're shooting for Captain Marvel, the movie, to come out March 2019. Now, who plays Captain Marvel is really important, and it's Brie Larson. Now, Brie Larson has like huge like internet like cred for she's hot and she's got great tits.
I mean,
basically,
hot,
that's what
right?
it is.
Yeah.
And she was also in Community, which is quirky and funny and silly, right? And people also.
Okay.
It was an underground kind of thing that wasn't so underground. But, yeah. And I think she also came out recently in Glow, which is Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, which also had Mark Maron. You know, I like him as a comedian and podcaster. Anyways, important part is she's playing, and that's good that she's playing that character. The bad thing is, like I said, remember that whole thing about Marvel being fuck-ups? Well, they've given Captain Marvel so much bad will, the way they've written her. She's just like this horrible, like turning against people, and they just wrote her into like a horrible character that nobody fucking likes. You know, nobody likes this character at all right now. So that's going to be, it's just weird that they chose that. I don't know if they're in tune with their audience at all, but it seems like a bad decision. But we'll see how the movie goes, because once again, we know how Marvel handles their movies. It's pretty damn good. So if they make a deviation, maybe they do like a origin story, that's totally fine, because it's not a very well-known character at all. I only found out about Captain Marvel maybe within the last 10 years, for example, which to me is like late. But
it's kind of weird now, because it's weird to say this, but I feel like in some ways they're like not targeting the comic book people anymore, and because they have so much credit with the Marvel movies. So that's why they can do, like you said, even though Captain Marvel has like this terrible reputation right now, they can do it because just like everybody's watching Marvel movies nowadays.
Yeah, and hopefully that's what I was like. Hopefully they do like an origin story. They touch none of the current stuff, because if they touch any of the current stuff, it's just going to be a person that you hate. Like because backstab, you name it, like just all the things that are like, why would you do this? But this doesn't, yeah, this person's like that in the comics. Yeah, just a despicable kind of like person. But like I said, great actress for the role. She'll look great in the suit, whatever. And she's also, got a lot of like community like pull, no pun intended. So yeah, in a couple of ways. But yeah. So I think that's a good pick and everything, and she can act. That's not an issue. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And Sam Jackson being thrown in there, hey, I can't hurt. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, it's not too much about him. But yeah, it just bad timing for the character in the comics. But whatever. I've only got 2 more things, guys, and that's good because
I have probably one thing that you do and 3 other things.
Cool. Elder Scrolls update in August. Horns of the Reach DLC. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I didn't know too much about it either. Apparently, it was mentioned during the E3 press conference, which somehow I missed. But yeah, it's another standard DLC. So, like, anybody who plays now and was like, what the fuck, Morrowind wasn't part of the ESO Plus thing. It's not technically a DLC, it's an expansion or something. This is going to be considered a DLC. So if it'll cost whatever amount of crowns it does. Usually the standard format for the DLC packs will be like it releases, and for a limited time, there's like a bundle where you can get the DLC plus like a bunch of random stuff, usually a mount and some other things for like a little bit more. And so if you're like, oh, I might want a cool mount or some other stuff, then the bundle might be good if you have the crowns or whatever. But it has to do with some town somewhere They Forge, Bloodroot Forge, which I've never heard of, but Falkreath's Hold, which for all those Skyrim nerds, which there's a lot of, it's like the southwest area of the map where the Dark Brotherhood lair was. So it's very forested area. It should probably connect to or be located in the western part of the Rift, maybe section is where I'd assume, because Falkreath Hold is a in Skyrim somewhere in the southwest there, and so in ESO, East March, and the Rift are part of the greater part of Skyrim. So my guess is it'll probably take place or have areas that are connected already pre-existing within the Rift, or it'll be an area connected to the Rift. But
everything you said about Skyrim, like map-wise, just made a bunch of Skyrim people like orgasm.
Jizz all over the place,
Skyrim,
and I knew they would. So yeah,
the map.
So yeah.
But
I was just
also,
gonna
say, if
yeah,
you
go ahead.
memorized all of that, props to you, because I couldn't. That's crazy.
I
wouldn't doubt it.
also-
Graham.
I also
Graham's got some
spent
ability.
like between Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, I spent by far the least amount of time in Skyrim, but I just know where things are. It's just something my brain can do.
Good.
I can still tell you probably where all 30 cog tags are in the first Gears of War.
Dude, I need a GPS walking. Like, there's no way I can remember that stuff.
Oh man. Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool also, because this is going to come with Update 15. And with the free part of this update with this DLC, so the DLC costs money. But the free part adds a bunch of new stuff, including a new Battlegrounds map. I still have never played that mode, but I intend to. That came out with Morrowind. It's a PvP small-scale arena thing, which is called Arcane University. I have a few things in mind where I know what that could look like, but I don't actually know, so that's just conjecture. But it says new Battlegrounds PvP mode called Chaos Ball, which I actually think sounds kind of interesting. So the whole thing is it's an objective thing where you have to hold on to the ball. Now, normally a lot of games like that, you're like, oh, it's like a basketball game, like insert every other game ever has done.
Warframe
But
has one with the ball.
Yep, exactly.
Moonball or whatever. No one cares about
this Chaos Ball. It's just like the whole objective is to hold it onto it as long as possible.
Ball. Oh,
Everybody on the Chaos Ball. Now, it's called a Chaos Ball because while it's in your possession, it deals healing and armor debuffs to you and your teammates. So it's not healing, it's a healing debuff, but it's also armor. So it's healing and armor debuff. So it's bad things.
So you don't
across
heal
the board.
as effectively?
Correct.
Gotcha.
So in order to be winning, you have to be at a disadvantage, which is neat because it causes more chaos, and unless you really have good ways to compensate it'll just keep dying. So I like that because a lot of games they'll do like, oh, when you hold it, you get super awesome armor, but you're slow, and that's boring.
Yeah.
So this is neat because it's going to cause more chaos around the objective instead of just dominating. So I have no idea if that's going to be fun or not. I haven't even played Battlegrounds in its default formats, which I think is just deathmatch and like a domination mode where you whatever. But this is interesting because this will be like more deathmatch, but with a flair to it. Like
they should just make a battle royale mode.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then other things that include a new home and furnishing crap. This is one that I think is fascinating. Ability to deposit alliance points and RIP vouchers into your bank. So right now, all of your alliance points, which is the money for PvP, and RIP vouchers, which you get only when you complete master tier crafting writs, are locked to the character.
Right.
So if
shit! Wow.
Yeah.
Even I know when I'm not that like. Wow.
So now, if you're playing on some character and you're like, I have 40,000 alliance points, but I want to make a new character, but they don't have any alliance points, or this other character has 460 alliance points, and I want to buy that really cool motif to get katana swords, but it costs 500,000. Now you can deposit them all into one character and buy that shit, which is fucking cool. and the ability to cancel a research project. So when you get later into your crafting, and you're like, oh, I just got this crafting writ, and it says that I need to create the shield. Well, I already have all my shit crafting. I just started one yesterday. I gotta wait 26 days to get that slot open. Now you could be like, I'm gonna cancel that, and I'm gonna do this instead.
The research portion.
That's what it says. Ability to cancel a research project.
Okay. You probably said that, and I think it clicked, but then I started thinking about my character and how difficult that was for me as well. And how I handled, like, how did I do that? Well, I didn't do the proper thing all the time, which is hang on to the piece of item that you know you're going to need, because sometimes inventory space, man. So,
exactly.
you know, I would sometimes just put things into play just to put them into play. Yeah, as far as research is concerned, then, you know, queue up everything. And then even if I didn't necessarily think it was a priority, I would do it just because I had it. So now I would absolutely cancel something that was not necessarily a priority in order to put something in that I actually got that I needed, you know, versus something that I put in just because, you know. So, yeah.
So that's the stuff coming up with update 15 at some point. Wouldn't you say, James, August? Is that what you had read?
It says update in August. It didn't give it a specific date, but it's called the Horns of the Reach DLC. We're not a gaming news network, so go look it up yourself.
They got lots of information on their website. So, but yeah, if you look for update 15 or Horns of the Reach DLC, the Elder Scrolls Online website will have more info. But it sounds pretty cool. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, the most I got out of it was like, oh, Minotaurs.
Yep. That's the pictures. Yeah. So there you go.
Exactly. Me see Minotaur. Me likey. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
I don't know what these words mean.
Currently, there is an ESO Plus mini event. So from this last Wednesday until Monday, like morning-ish, whatever, if you don't have ESO Plus, you have access to ESO Plus for free. And if you already have ESO Plus, every day that you sign in, later this month, they'll give you a Dwarven Crown Crate for free for each day that you logged in, which is neat.
ESO Plus trial is like giving crack to kids.
That's exactly what it is.
It's so wrong.
It's so wrong.
And yes, I
know
so
genius.
Your inventory, like for crafters specifically, because I got heavy into crafting. I have 248 hours, I think, in the game. So, before I stopped playing it, went to something else. And that's really just because I wanted more people to play with, and it didn't quite end up happening that way. So I kind of got moved on to something else. But I got heavily into the crafting, and that crafting bag, everything that I've heard about it or read about it is amazing.
It's hacks.
First hit free is correct, Phil. You get actual, ESO was a game that I heavily modded because I was like, there's so much here that I can adjust based on mods that are going to help me out, especially inventory management. And that crafting bag is just amazing for that. It's unlimited inventory, first off, right?
Yeah, for crafting materials.
Right.
And it literally takes it all from your bank off of all of your characters and puts them in this bag of holding, basically. It just automatically pulls it out for you. So it clears up a ton of inventory space. It will double your bank space for the time that you have it.
Right.
It gives you all the other bonuses like experience, whatever, blah, blah. But it also gives you the ability to dye your costumes. Yeah. So if you're like, I always wanted to do that, now you can do it until this is over.
Look,
and it gives you full access.
The armor was always a thing. I still have a chip on my shoulder.
And it gives you full access to all of the DLCs minus Morrowind because that's an expansion. But if you're like, I'm curious what that DLC is like, this is really good. This is a really good time for you to explore and try out those things like this the rest of this weekend and see what you like and don't like. Because if you're like, that was kind of not interesting, then you know that you don't ever want to buy that DLC.
I'm updating.
But it's pretty cool.
No joke. It's a game that it's still, I have not removed it from my system. It's still there. I turned it on the other day just to log in, but it's not, it's Because it has that, I played it that much. It's like The Division. I won't get rid of that either because I still like it a lot, and I probably will play. Like, I've been having the feeling of playing ESO recently a lot lately, so I might actually. And I do that with games so I can transition to something so I can avoid the work of another game.
Yep.
You know how I avoid the work of another game? By throwing myself into another game that has a lot of work in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go back to this other game once I finish all this work over here. Never, ever.
And the last thing that I have on ESO, which isn't published anywhere really, but if anybody keeps track of random just PTS nerd stuff, whatever, you probably have seen it. But on Xbox, since I primarily play ESO on Xbox, you can look at different achievements, whatever, and then there's challenges, which are like limited time frame challenges. And it's just some random other collectible thing, but it's limited. And one of the challenges is Star Made Night. And if you've looked in-game and you looked at like the journal entry and whatever, there's always this section for in-game achievements called Holiday DLC. There's like an entire section there. And it talks about all the new stuff that is there in the next coming event. And in the challenges, it says Star Made Night during the first mid-year Mayhem celebration. And it says starts 7/22 and 7/31. And if you look at the different achievements in game, it basically is all PvP. So all the different PvP events, and from what I've gathered from what little extra I looked at on PTS, when you go through and you get rewards of the worthy, which is just as you play PvP and you earn alliance points, you randomly get stuff sent to your mail. It will also include some type of box, and in the box can include a ton of cool stuff like different PvP motifs, different loot, whatever. You can look it up, but it's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'll probably be doing a lot of ESO PvP at the end of this month. But yeah, and they'll probably talk about it. You'll start seeing it pop up in like a couple weeks, probably, when more official statements are released on that event. But yeah, that's all I got on ESO.
Yeah, I'm not usually one for like gimmick events, holiday events. I just don't like those because I always feel like they're very half-assed. I don't like fetch quests. I don't like that stuff. I really don't enjoy it. Like the last one, the winter event or whatever, or it was a summer one.
The Jester one?
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy it.
The winter one, yeah. Where you just run around.
Yeah, that's what it was, the winter one. I didn't really enjoy it either. I was like, I think if you're in the game, you do the stuff because it's there, and you might enjoy it, but if anything, you might get something kind of neat out of it, so that's fine. But I wasn't really there for that, so since I was already on the edge of like, I don't really want it, just was like, ugh. It
felt like work instead of something that was neat or whatever.
Yeah, and it probably would have been best for me to like skip it, but instead I did it, and that kind of like was one of the last things I ended up doing in the game. Just didn't, But that's just me. I'm not really a fan of that kind of stuff anyway, because usually, like I said, most of the time they're not well done, and it's fine though. It is what it is. It's not like a big deal. It's just personal. I've got problems. There's something wrong with me. So I recognize that.
So that's cool.
Cool, man. Thanks for the update on that stuff.
I got 3 more things.
Cool. Real quick, and because this probably won't take long, and it's related to MMOs. I read an article about how a couple of players in Final Fantasy 14 apparently had bought up like crap loads of houses in one space. Apparently, there's like limited houses you get in Final Fantasy 14, which is kind of a dumb issue in the first place, right? Because we had something like that in Dark Age of Camelot a long time ago, where there was limited area you could put your housing down. Well, at some point they learned, just make your own instance for your house, then there's no issue.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
But in this case for FF14, like there's only like, I think something like 2,500 spaces on the server where there could be like twice the population. And I don't know which server it was, but apparently on one server, these two people were like, we're going to buy all these houses, all the plots, because we want to have a place where no one is around us. That's what their excuse was, but it could also be what they really thought, because people were odd. It's not real life. It's not like they're like right next to you, literally. It's
right,
I can understand if it's like real property. Right. They were just like, we don't want, and I was like, wait, you don't want plebs around you? What's going on, you elitist pricks? But anyways, people are like, oh, you shouldn't be. Everybody pays the same price, so there's no. Everyone should have access to that. It should be something that everyone has access to. And they're like, no, it's a video game, and we collected these resources, so we should be able to use them as we please. And I was just like, wow. All I got out of that was like, you're selfish. That's all I got out of that. That's literally, because if you get kind of just pull back a little bit more from yourself and you just keep kind of pulling back layer by layer, you're like, yeah, at the end of the day, I kind of want everyone on the server to have a good time because I want people to play with. That's how I usually end up looking at things.
That's the logical way to look at things. And surprisingly,
not necessarily like that quickly. I think most people are like, they just don't even think about like how it would affect other people. They're more like, we should have access. Like, they were like, we should have access. That's what they were getting down to, was like, we pay the same fee. We're supposed to be able to do this too. They're still thinking selfishly. They honestly would. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just, like I said, I like to present a lot of just, I see a lot of that stuff. And, my personal opinion on that was like, yeah, I kind of just want people to play with, and I know if I piss people off, I'm probably not going to be able to play with people. So, do you acquiesce to everybody's, needs? Probably not. But this is kind of one of those things where it's clearly a very limited source. So, be the jerk, but people can also like switch servers. They got to pay a fee, I think, to switch server, but they can do it. So, leave those two guys. I'm sure who knows what it was? I don't know. Maybe it was two guys. I always assume like assholes on games are guys. I always assume it. I always do. But who knows? But leave those two people to the server by themselves.
I think I usually do
server transfers and just like transfer everybody to a different server for themselves, and then just leave those two guys by themselves.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm like, just leave them there.
I was like a troll.
Oh, that'd be so good. But, yeah, that's just a quick weird thing. Anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, what were you saying, Graham? I think you said you had one more thing?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple things. So, this is something new for consoles that is not far off. Supposedly, that was the quote, not far from the Xbox and Windows corporate vice president, Mike Barra. Yeah, it's a gifting feature. So it's something that exists very long time on Steam. But yeah, so Xbox One users apparently not too far will have that feature. So now on a console, if you're like, I wanted to play this game with me, but you're like, I don't know where you live and I can't just send you a copy like old school days. Now you can be like, I'm buying you a copy of this game. So that's pretty cool. Because that's something that I see used all the time on Steam, and is really helpful. So that's pretty cool, because consoles don't have that, and have never had that. So now, finally, it looks like at least Xbox that is coming at some point. So that's cool.
I always applied that to like consoles wanting to continue to make physical media because of the markup on cost that they could justify in some sense, because it's, it's a physical thing with, you got a printing process, you got all that, everything involved with the production of it. But with digital, you got to ease people into the mindset that, no, it still costs the same. I mean, it's digital, but it still costs the same. No. Stop yourself. Especially if you're going to be breaking off pieces of the game in order to sell it as DLC. No. Yeah. So cost, going up anyways in digital with, like I said, DLC or whatever it is. So give us a break.
Yep. And also for Xbox, which is interesting for the Halo series, Xbox One has been doing a lot with its backwards compatibility, which I wish Sony would learn from and actually incorporate in some capacity. But
Western, Eastern.
True. All of the remaining Halo games are now about to join backwards compatibility. I think just Halo 2 or something is on that list. But now all the rest of the games are supposed to do that. And with that, all the DLC from those previous games will now be free, including the ones that are already currently. So that's the original Halo, Halo 3, Halo 2, Halo 3 ODST, Halo 4, and all of their like map packs and everything will all become free and added to the store. So that's pretty cool. So if you're like, I have an Xbox, I've never really played Halo though, pretty soon you'll be able to play all of the games. I think they're backwards compatible, so you'll still have to buy the game, but all of the additional content will be free, which is pretty cool.
Okay, so Halo previous DLC.
Yep.
For games.
Meaning Halo games joining Xbox One's compatibility with
Cool.
all DLC free. So that's kind of neat. I've even when the Halo series was big, I like played it, but I was never like into Halo like a lot of people were. But
yeah,
but it's cool that the whole series will eventually be backwards compatible. So you don't have to like, oh, I missed out on that game, I'd like to try it. Now you can just play all of them. You just have to buy them, but then all the DLC will be free. So that's neat.
I have good memories of playing Halo 1 on the PC. The story, like I can still remember, I can still visually see it in my head, parts of that game. Like it made enough of an impact clearly on me that I enjoyed that game, that first one enough. And I played on PC, which was great. You know, it was nice to do that. And then after that, it was just like, yeah, go fuck yourself. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so, and I don't know how that will play into the Xbox Windows, whatever, because, you know, I don't think everything is backwards compatible. Like, all the backwards compatibility stuff crosses into the PC world, but I don't actually know. So, it's something interesting, but, you know, if it does, that's even cooler.
When we played Gears of War 4, did you play on a console?
Yeah, when we were playing, I was playing on my Xbox One.
Yeah, that free trial. I mean, that game it looks really good. It plays pretty well. There's some mechanics that you just have to take into account that is part of the game series. That's how the mechanics function, or at least part of that game specifically. Maybe they adjust, you know, depending on the title, the sequel or whatever it is. But as far as the cross-platform gameplay, fucking flawless. And we've seen the same issue with like the Sony, the PS4 and PC with like Paragon. There's really not an issue that I can tell, you know. So yeah, cross-platform stuff, guys. You know, they just got to work out their damn business side of stuff. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Because the capabilities have been there. Yeah, it's Gears of War 4 was pretty fun playing multiplayer with the Horde mode stuff. It was always what attracted me to that series. It was the Horde mode specifically. So. And
the last thing I have, semi-related to cross-platform, Rocket League went through a big anniversary update. You got a whole bunch of stuff, and that game's going to eventually be even more cross-platformed with a whole bunch of other consoles, including the Switch and Xbox One and stuff like that. The game is pretty strong 2 years after. It has, over the last year, 1.6 million players every day, and these numbers come from Psyonix themselves, so who knows. 1.6 million players every day, 3.3 million per week, 6.1 million every month, and in all, 1.5 billion matches have been played in the game's lifetime over the last 2 years. Right. It's interesting because they decided to break it down by like currently the three platforms that it's on. PS4, 41% of players that are most active are there. Then Xbox One with 32%, and PC is the least with 29%. Yeah. Which I've never played it with keyboard and mouse, but I've heard from everybody that plays better with a controller, which I do anyway. So that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. You know, the game's still going strong 2 years after, and they just had a major update. It's going to have more cross-platform stuff in the future, too. So that's neat.
So do you remember, I know I talked about it last time or the time before, but which is the one... okay, so there's no Xbox PS4 cross-platform with that game because they can't work something out. I remember that. I talked about this like with Sony giving some bullshit excuse about like, whoa, or maybe it was Nintendo. There's something there that is not cross-platform. Like, it's like a two-way street and not a three-way street kind of thing, Or is there a three-way street? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Thinking of a triangle. But yeah, I guess it's like a triangle where only two can access at a time, and there's no third. Like you can't do a third option or something like that. But yeah, that's such a. It just still goes back to like I think was it a Paragon stream that I was in today?
Yes.
When you were in there, Graham, where somebody was asking about like cross-platform compatibility.
Yeah, people were like, I really wish that this game would be on Xbox, and then we could all play on there. Yeah. And then somebody referenced the fact that Todd Sweeney, I think, of Epic Games, has some bitterness towards Microsoft, and it's all like, that'll never happen, blah.
Yeah, I mentioned something about like it's just being a business related thing because there's one game that's like cross-platform, but the other game is not. Just silly things like that, like Minecraft. They don't want to make cross-platform, but then it's just. I know it's Rocket League, Minecraft, and then there's just a lot of games in contention where, in all reality, they just need to figure out whatever they need to figure out to make that deal happen. And then my whole thoughts behind that have always been, if you have a bigger community, you have more of an option for that IP to last a lot longer. That's what I said in chat. But businesses have to see that as a positive thing and not the next quarter as being the only positive. The longevity of games, so like ESO, if they had given up on ESO, which they could have a long time ago, it would not be where it's at now. And rip the Division, they did give up on it for whatever fucking reason, and it is where it's at now. So, by the way, free XP or double XP weekend for your daily missions today in Division. Doesn't matter though. But
wait, so how is it doing? Is it basically dying?
It's pretty much dying. I mean, it's been dying for a while. And it's like they're still putting out some updates here and there, but that game is just about like it's going the way of Titanfall 1, So, yeah, it's
literally the Division.
Yeah, it's just
divided.
So much money put into it, so much potential, and just for whatever reason, somebody decisions were made, and it is where it is now. So. But yeah. Well, last thing I have, Twitch affiliates got sub button, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great thing, of course, unless you're a pessimist that only looks at the bad side of everything, which is weird because I've seen a lot of these things lately where I'm like, people tell me I'm a pessimist. Why am I not seeing the bad in a lot of these things? Why am I seeing people crying about things that I'm like, what? Like the other thing that came out was like the whole
onboarding
update to the mobile app. And so I went through the process to create a new account on my phone with the updated mobile app for Twitch. And what it does is it just says, all right, let's see what games you're interested in. And we can go from there. So you pick like 3 games that you're interested in. I picked 3 games that I specifically stream. Just I was curious. And then it gave me like a list of 9 people that was like, all right, so we're going to go ahead and, sign you up to these or whatever, or have you follow these people. If you don't want to, go ahead and click the heart and that'll, remove you from that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how that happens. So people get signed, they get auto follow an account if they agree to that. If they don't want to, they can just click no. And I just saw all these kind of like, people weren't reading the Twitch updates, which is fine. It's like, what's going on? This and that. And it wasn't like you mentioned it, Graham. I thought we were talking about being like a view botted, but it was what other people had been mentioning that I was getting through retweets and stuff like that of people like, people are botting me. And I was like, what's going on? I was like, that sucks. I don't want that to happen. Then I started like actually looking into it. I was like, oh, this is actually a standard normal thing that Twitch talked about. They just said that this is part of their process for like, the update for their mobile app. And it's actually a good thing. It's a positive thing, unless you look at it in the world is out to kill me, and like everything is about like making your life horrible. If you're like that,
my
then
numbers are being inflated.
Yeah. How dare you stick your finger up my ass? I didn't ask for a proctologist. What are you? No one is sticking anyone's finger up their ass, okay? Well, maybe they are, but not on stream, IRL.
Yeah, for me, initially, before I understood the process, I was just like, I don't know what's going on. I'm confused and slightly afraid. But once
it looks like fake accounts, or like, you don't know if somebody's making up bullshit accounts to just kind of...
Especially because a lot of people have really shitty names, and you're like, I don't know what the hell kind of name that is. You're like, Shiga Huiga Waga Waga 158925456, and you're like, what kind of name is? Who chooses that?
Yeah,
so
dude, I think that when I play Paragon matches all the time, I'm like,
all the time.
Figure that name out for a username, but okay, you really want to be called dumb fuck face screw? Okay, that's
really what it does is
8723.
It just takes people who don't know anything. They're just like new kids on the block, and it just says, hey, based on what you think you like, these people might be cool. So we're just going to guide you to somewhere to watch, and then you can kind of do what you want. Yep. And then us being that place, it's like we're throwing a party,
right?
And somebody automatically handed out invites for us.
Right. So,
and then if they come or they don't, then whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, odds are they're probably going to show up there, because if it's a new account, like I still have that account on my phone, those are there for you to watch. So it's like, oh, okay, cool, I'll check this out. So here, the odds are this: they're going to check out the stream, and I attribute it to something like this: like you have a store, you've had your store, but you haven't had promotion, so now you just got like this big promotional thing that happened on behalf of you by some big advertising agency for whatever fucking reason. So the people are going to show up. That doesn't fucking mean that you've done the work to keep them, to retain them. So people are freaking out. Like, there was the other thing, I'd rather not have my stats padded. I'm like, I need this problem in my life. Please pad my stats. Look, like I said, that doesn't guarantee that they're going to hang around or even stay. And as far as like padded numbers are concerned, what do you think YouTubers have been dealing with for pretty much the entire time? Most of the time, YouTubers will have X number of subs, but have only X number, like a tenth of that, actually watch the videos. It's just apparently a thing that people do. I don't know how to explain that other than like maybe somebody signs up for an account and they don't watch Twitch all the time the way that we might want. We want people to show up. Dude, I have 400 and some odd, even before like the extra, I got like 32 the other day. Even before that, I had like 410. I get about like if I'm lucky to have 10 people in my chat at a time. I am like, to me, I'm like, woo, we're doing it, boys. Like that's great for me. That's like a good day if I have 10 people. And I've got 400 something. I'm like, I kind of wish I could clean out the ones that didn't show up ever too. Like, I honestly wish that I had that option of clearing out people that haven't shown up for like 9 months to a year or something, But that's not how it works. I know Twitch kills periodically. They get rid of accounts that have been doing nothing. That's how they came up with hey, you can now change your name, because, they were actually recycling names at that point or whatever. So, they were destroying old accounts that had no activity. But still, it's not a it's not like anybody's handing you anything for free. They kind of are. They're streamers and content creators always complain, in my experience on YouTube, Twitch, doesn't matter where, even in real life, about not getting representation, not getting good publicity for themselves, not getting good, like, hey, notice me, we're over here, I'm doing an amazing thing, check me out. Well, now's your chance. Don't fucking bitch about it. I'm sorry. It's just take the opportunity. How am I the positive one here? How am I seeing this as a potentially good thing? Yes, it kind of sucks in a way that you can't say hello to the person that signed up to you, but guess what? Have a positive attitude about it. Like, I still, on my stream, I was like, hey, thanks for coming to the stream, whether you're here or not. I'm doing this right now. And I'll kind of just do that. I'll throw that out there real quickly. I don't make a whole, I kind of check my list too. I'm also watching everybody that's always on my stream. That's another thing too. Like, if I connect that name to somebody that's in the stream, and I'll watch for over a span of a few minutes or whatever, because I know that a name doesn't always pop up on the view list immediately. So, it's just it's a change, and sometimes change is scary and it makes you feel bad for whatever reason, But it's okay. Green poop sometimes is actually not going to kill you. It's fine. It's just
Sometimes.
yeah, sometimes. Not like if you're green pooping every day, you better be drinking a lot of green dye or something. And I think even that probably won't, like, I don't know if that.
I feel like it's
Don't
one
drink
of those
green dye.
where of course people just need a reason to bitch, but it's also like, oh, okay, well if I invite 10 people and 5 come, it's like, oh, I retain 50%. But if it's like I invite 1,000, but like 10 come, it's like, oh, more people came, but the ratio is bad. So I don't know. Maybe that's why people are angry. I have no idea.
I think it's like what Graham said, where it's like, I invited 10 people and 100 showed up. What the fuck just happened here? Where are you people coming from? Oh, well, so-and-so is a buddy of mine that said so-and-so. And, oh, okay, well, I mean, that it's actually cool. I just wasn't prepared for this. So, yeah, you're right. They'll get over it. And
absolutely.
I'm not usually the one to, like, go around saying fucking rainbows and sunshine, everybody, and when I do, it's always in a very angry mood too. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? This is an amazing event.
I feel like it's possible they either changed it or did something, because like you said, like a just crazy amount of follows coming in, it's abnormal, and then yesterday it seemed normal again, like it wasn't all crazy. I don't know if something was messed up or Twitch was broken or something.
I have theories about this.
I have no idea.
I've got theories about this that I talked to Graham about. So number one, when you're not streaming, you're not part of that promoted list of people that could be a potential person to be selected, whatever. So that's one. Number two, depending on the game that is being played at the time and depending on the popularity of it, like let's say Graham was playing Life is Strange. It's pretty well known that that's a pretty damn popular game. Like, I think it crosses a lot of boundaries with gamer types. It seems to. I've seen, granted, Jim played it. I played it. I think we're kind of outliers in a sense. You played it, Emph. Graham played it. Graham also, I think, in a sense, is a little bit of an outlier when it comes to that, like the emotional manipulation. He's not going to fall for it. So, like, you're going to get his take on it, and he's not like, oh, man, this is going to be my favorite. Oh, I really wanted it. He's just like, oh, let's see what this is all about. I'm going to play this. Oh, what's this bullshit over here? It's an interesting take on it. So there are people that maybe really like that type of Telltale game also that really it just seems to cross a lot of boundaries, which is really interesting. Plus, it also was done very well. So you get the people that are appreciative of the craftsmanship of it. So there's a lot of reasons I think why. So I think it's the game type, when it's played, and who's streaming it as well. So I streamed Paragon and I streamed The Division, 0 subs, and I streamed probably for about 7 hours. So about in the 8th hour or so, when I switched over to Shadow of Mordor, and it also happened to be about 4 a.m., that's when the follow train happened. And so I'm thinking that, number one, not a huge streaming hour. Number two, that game was free to play, so maybe some people were like, hey, I want to check this out. All right, great. Yeah, and number three, I was probably, just, well, actually, it goes back to number one. I was probably just one of the few people that was actually streaming at that time. So when people were picking games that they liked to watch or whatever, I think the game did pretty well anyway. So, yeah, I think I think that has a lot to do with it. And I know for sure that I have not gotten any follows since I have not been streaming. So it's only when I was streaming. So,
yeah,
that's about all I got on that. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, so don't panic. It's good.
Panic.
You might have to turn off your follow alerts or whatever
At the disco.
for a bit.
It's like the perfect timing for those people who don't think they're going to get a certain amount of follows. So they're like, oh, 48 hours stream once we hit this. And it's like they hit the number in like a half a day.
Yeah. Dude, it was like cool. I get like a follow like once every few weeks. So for me to get I was like, whoa, this is cool. And now I got to make sure I'm staying up on my game too. Like I've done a lot of work since the sub button thing came out too. Like I've done like some overlay stuff and whatnot, and stuff that I normally wouldn't care to do. Like I had ideas, I just never had the impetus to move forward with it. And sub stuff is just, it kind of gives you that little extra like somebody cares, like a bit of encouragement. Because you could stream, I don't know how many years I've had this Twitch account. It's going on 30 year, maybe 4. I don't know anymore. I could go look. But I think 2014 is when I've had it. But I didn't start streaming until like maybe a year or two after that. Something like that. But so it's definitely something that's encouraging to see some kind of like return on whatever you're putting in. And also to help to remind you, hey, yeah, do you care? Do you still care? So if you do something about it, and don't complain so much. Maybe it's a nice privilege in a sense to be able to play. I say that on stream a lot. Honestly, people ask like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, I am streaming a video game at X hour. I'm doing amazing." Are you kidding me? I have the luxury of streaming this video game, and I'm doing awesome if I'm able to do that right now. So yeah, that's all I got.
That's usually the first thing I say.
Yeah,
I'm playing games.
Yeah, exactly. How could that be bad? Unless you have a gun to your head. But sorry.
Being threatened to play games. That's good too.
I need to see that movie now. Just like Swordfish, where they made him code. They threatened his life.
Oh, yeah.
You need to stream or we'll kill your kid. Wait, I'm sorry. All right, well.
Yeah.
So you guys have anything else that's burning in your mind that you need to talk about? Game-related wise. In your mind, not in your loins.
I don't have anything else video game related. That you have.
Not really. When you were talking about Rocket League earlier,
I just
wanted to point out like you can get it for sale right now on Amazon on the PS4 Game of the Year for like $12 or something like that.
Yeah, there's some big deals going on right now. There's still big deals going on. I know the Steam Summer Sale and all that, but I saw today even that there's like, Amazon sale. What Amazon Prime's going to have its Prime Day. There's going to be a lot of things on sale then too, and games are part of it. So.
Oh yeah. It's like a couple of days.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah, let's get out of here. 2 hours and 36 minutes is long enough.
Good. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Indeed.
Thanks, Deb, for joining us.
Yeah, emphasize.
Thanks for having me.
EMM as in Mancy, of course. PHASYZE. Had to do the Archer reference. On Twitch. Are you that on YouTube as well?
I am, but it's more of a place with archive VODs from Twitch.
Fair enough.
So
if anyone's
you can
interested.
see it on my page.
Yeah, look up Emphasize on the social media stuff. I'll have his name in the podcast notes. So in case you weren't sure, was that M or an N? Mancy or? Yeah.
Yeah, Mancy.
Mancy or Nancy? Not sure. Also on the Twitch, Twitter. Yeah. Gramtown Dryad, thanks again, of course, for the convo. And I'm going to just drift off here quietly.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Glad I could fill in. I am the new Phil. Get it? Fill in.
Fill in.
Fill in, man.
I know your schedule is what it is.
Get well soon. I just really wanted to say that.
Phil got torn apart by the Kraken, laying dead at the bottom of the ocean, I already said. In a castle under the sea. Wait. Is that Little Mermaid or is that SpongeBob? I can't tell.
Pineapple Under the Sea. It's SpongeBob.
That's the one.
I don't watch SpongeBob.
I hate SpongeBob so much.
I refuse.
I lost half my viewers.
I'd rather have a gun and code.
It was not part of my growing up. I just want to point out cartoons are really shitty nowadays. Are they?
Yeah.
What about the bear thing that you put on your...
Oh, yeah, well, that's an exception.
What about Rick and Morty?
I don't
really
watch that, even though everyone else does, apparently.
I know, it's getting to the point where I don't want to watch it because I'm like, stop. Stop. Just stop talking about it. What about Castlevania on that? Okay, yeah, we're out. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
B3 GamingCast, wherever on all the things. Look on your local restroom wall.